Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January 5th meeting of the Richmond Selectboard, first meeting of the year. The public comment. Mary.
Yeah, Mary Holt. I went into the zoning office today to try to find out exactly the amount of conserved land in Richmond, and I was unable to find it. It was suggested that I call regional planning. Okay, I'll do that. However, during my research and looking at the future maps for the 2026 town plan, and I worked on a town plan, so I don't take this lightly. I know it's a lot of work. Charlie Baker emailed me back and he from CCRPC, and he said, they didn't put the lines on your. Anyway, there's lots on my property that are divided up, and on the current use map that they're using in 2026, they're missing. So in 2024, regional planning had it printed out. I'm not taking this. So I gave a copy of this to Dante, and he's going to install it there. But Charlie Baker said, it could be the state. I don't like passing the buck. I think you all know I say my piece and get it over with. But I'm not going to also accept the folks on the planning commission making all my land unavailable to be developed. They're not going to put it in that. They're just not going to do it. I've got Greystone to one side, and I've got Orchard Lane and Phoenix Circle. So I'm not an undeveloped area. I'm a developed area. Don't be laying this on me. You ain't paying me for the you're not compensating me for what you might be taking away. I will not allow it. I will not allow it. I think I sent some emails to some of you about that. I just can't take that sitting down, and I won't. And I'd like to know if there's going to be a chance that any of the town plan meetings are going to be in person anymore. I couldn't log on to the last meeting that they had.
There is a town plan. It is
this week.
There is an item. Oh, later this week. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, and it's all online. It's not in person.
Gotcha.
You are the people that appoint that body.
So I know that I talked to Keith a bit about it. I know that all the town plan committee meetings have all been in person and online. So that's what they taught the bulk of the discussions about the town plan. And
planning commission meetings are
the planning commission meetings are the ones
remote.
That are remote only.
The town plan steering committee meetings have been in person and online.
And there's been in-person meetings at the library. There's been a lot of in-person.
Yeah, I went to that big deal.
Yeah, but
that was pretty early in the process.
There was also a select board meeting at the library that was in person for the town plan as well.
I think I was there for both of them.
Probably were.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there have been some in-person meetings. Yes, the planning commission has met mostly online though.
As it comes down to the wire, if you're floating down the river in your canoe and you don't notice the falls until the very last minute, that's when you scream and do something about it. I don't want this to be, I'm going over the falls and have to scream about it. There are a couple instances here in Richmond where this was attempted and it didn't work. Let's see, there was another question I had related to, I forgot it. Anyway, that's enough. But
we do have the hearing, so if there are specific parts of the plan that you want to bring up, we'll have Keith and Virginia here during that hearing, which is later in the agenda.
It's also interesting that nobody ever consults if I was changing the zoning on your property and you couldn't do squat with it.
Let's talk about it during the hearing, but this is not changing the zoning. This is changing the goals that they have for the town. So this
yes, but the town plan becomes the document that
the town plan guides the zoning. So there's not a one for one, and I understand your frustration, but it's not one for one. Let's talk about it at the.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Judy.
Oh, thank you. Hey, I was just going to mention that if you're talking about the future land use map, it's not a regulatory document. It's not saying anything can or can't happen on that land. It's sort of like an inventory of what's out there. So people can look at it and say, oh, we could build a highway here, or, oh, maybe we should not build a highway here. You know what I mean? So sorry, Mary, you sound very upset.
Judy, we're going to have to talk about this in depth during the public hearing item
Thank
H.
you.
Thank you. Noah?
Hey guys, you there? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Hey, Noah in town. I just wanted to ask a question since it's the public comment period.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, during the last select board meeting, Paige Kalita brought up some interesting concerns about the town attorney, which, I've seen a lot of the town attorney instances lately in watching all the Southview stuff. And I was surprised to hear that a lot of other community members also raised some related concerns when they were speaking, especially during the last meeting. And so I was just curious as to whether or not the select board has discussed any of those comments since the meeting, or if there's any consideration of follow-up or review or any kind of next steps. Thanks.
Thank you. I don't think we have an update for you in that we have not had a formal discussion and we do not have any planned next steps. I think it is something we are aware of, and we've had a lot going on. Bard?
I only add that I think it's accurate to say we have a group of attorneys as opposed to a single attorney. So we
Yes.
hired sort of a practice, which is not to discount any of the comments. It's just a point of clarity. There's not singular attorney with whom we work.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just curious because the only attorney I've ever seen in my limited watching of the meetings has been that one particular attorney who's been, he is himself, and so I was just curious about that. All right, thank you.
Point taken. Thank you. Anything else? Any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda? On to the agenda. Reminder, we have an upcoming and final budget review meeting for our town municipal budget tomorrow at 7 p.m. That's Tuesday, January 6th at 7 p.m. So this is the last kind of chance to have input before it goes to the ballot. Anyone have anything else to add?
Nope.
And
Though.
that'll be held in this room and online. Josh, do you want to go over the announcement?
Sure.
Police officer?
We have hired a police officer. We've hired Carlos Pita as a police officer for the Richmond Police Department. He comes to us most recently from the Durham Police Department, but he does have family connections here in Vermont and in Richmond, actually. So we're happy to hire him and have him starting here on March 5th, 2026. He does have to complete some additional training with the Vermont Police Academy coming from out of state to get his level 2 training, and he might need to take a few more classes to fully certify. And then he has 6 to 8 weeks of field training with interim Chief Cohen, but we're very happy to get him on board and get him started here in early March. So welcome, Carlos.
Great. Thank you.
I can only clarify it's Durham, North Carolina.
Oh, did I?
Durham, New Hampshire.
Hampshire.
Oh, did I say
No.
New Hampshire?
I just said Durham.
I didn't say anything. Yeah, Durham, North Carolina. Yes, thank you. No, it was North Carolina. Yes.
Great. Next we have consideration of dedication of the 2026 town report. Does anyone have any thoughts on this? I think last year we had an idea ahead of time and we have not meet that.
I'd like to speak up in favor of nominating Francis Churchill for being mentioned in the town report. I believe there are 2 names that have been brought forward. Francis and Brian Giles. Francis grew up in this town. His death was an unwelcome surprise to just about everybody. But he and his family have been active civic participants, and my thoughts go out to his family, but I would like to advocate for that inclusion as a dedication.
And maybe for people who don't know, describe what that civic involvement or connection has been. Just because I think some people may know and some people may not.
Well, Francis and his wife Molly and his daughters lived in the house that he was raised in on Cochran's Road. I knew him through he was involved an awful lot in the coaching and soccer and stuff with the kids. But having grown up in this town, he was part of the fabric of our community, and used to attend Richmond Congregational Church with us. I just think somebody like that who spent his life here and you know, was a very nice person. Is in my experience, is worthy of consideration for that.
There's a hand. Oh, Mary, go ahead.
Yep, and I acknowledge, it was a tragic loss for Francis Churchill, but did we dedicate the town report to the two folks from the rescue squad who tragically died as well in separate accidents?
Do you have a different suggestion?
I think
that wasn't meant to be snarky,
No,
genuinely.
Just, if you're going to make a consideration for this person who's young, the two people who died separate accidents, tragically, I don't think we allowed the same thing to happen. It's just, you're gonna remember one, you should pay attention to the rest of them. Thank you.
So, may I ask, did that happen the last calendar year? Is those?
Not the point.
No, but I mean, I would full-heartedly support nominating them if I knew their names. It's just not something that happened this year is all.
I thought, I might be wrong, but I thought we honored Brandon the year he was
Was that
killed.
Mr. Cousineau?
Yeah,
Yes.
I said, I may be wrong,
yeah,
but
he
the
was-
young
he
lady
was
who died
dedicated,
in
I
a
think so.
climbing accident, I don't think any acknowledgement was made. Thank you.
Okay. I could be wrong, but I thought we did.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but
It is tough
the
because you
lottery.
pick one or a few people, and
Yeah,
there is many people who are worthwhile big recognition. So
yeah.
I'm not sure that it needs to be limited to one person either.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because Brian Giles did good service to this town for a lot of years.
I mean, I guess the only point I would make is that I see in here it says Dennis. Are we talking?
I mean, Dennis, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So as much as I would like to dedicate it to Dennis, Dennis is still chugging in the community and
I
serving
talked to
on the
them
fire
that
department. Just so I'm,
Yeah.
so I guess that would be how I would make the call. I think
You're
he's,
talking about two separate Giles, Dennis and Bryant?
we were talking
That was
about
my
the-
mistake. I'm
Just,
sorry.
just
Dennis.
Dennis. We got our wires crossed. We're talking about Dennis Kyle.
But there have been dual dedications. My mother and Ms. Halleck were also cited, dedicated once upon a time, but there were dual dedications.
What do we want to do?
I think a dedication to Francis would be
So we would need to make a motion to do that.
so moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Discussion.
Gary.
I don't know all the things Francis did, but one thing he did do was maintain on the land trust property that the long section of the River Shore Trail for years. If you're looking for a list of things to have dedication.
Get the sense that would be a very long list.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? Calling it to a vote.
Greg, aye.
David, I.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, I. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Aaron, we missed you. Do you have a comment or anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to also add that Francis served many years as a justice of the peace for the town of Richmond and for all of us. So just that.
Thank you, Aaron.
Francis is one of those people that, times I'd say I'd be in a conference or whatever, people would ask me where I was from. I'd say Richmond. Oh, do you know Francis Churchill? He's just somebody that touched many lives and always positively, gone way too soon.
Next, we have a public hearing to consider amendments to the traffic ordinance. So I believe this is want me to go through this, Josh? I can go through it quick.
Oh, you want me to figure it out?
So this is to consider, this would be considering amendments that would allow us to place 4 stop signs versus the 2 stop signs at the intersection of Cochran Road, Huntington Road, Bridge Street, and Thompson Road. We had talked about doing this as a traffic calming measure and testing it out. Whether we make it permanent or not, it requires an amendment. We're not allowed to just come in and put those stop signs in as it stands in the traffic ordinance. So this is our next step to make that happen on a trial basis, I guess. Right. Is that wording that everyone thinks is accurate?
I moved to open the public hearing to consider amendments to the traffic ordinance.
Does Barnell second that?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye. The hearing is open. We have,
I think you need a motion to forego the reading of the entire ordinance, because
Oh,
per
right.
statute, you have to read the whole ordinance unless you can order you not to.
this is Caitlin. I move to forego reading the entire ordinance out loud and read only the title.
Ms. Bardo, second that as well.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Bardo.
Caitlin.
Adam, aye.
If you'd like, I can provide a summary of the changes to the traffic ordinance.
That'd be great. Thank you, Josh.
Yes.
All right, so all changes, I'm sharing the screen here. Let me make that a little bigger. That looks like it's fairly hard to read on the screen in the room here. Okay, so all changes are in section 4, stop signs. Stop signs will be installed at the intersection of Huntington Road and Bridge Street, and the intersection of Bridge Street and Huntington Road. So one on Huntington Road heading into that intersection and one on Bridge Street heading into that intersection. We also cleaned up some wording. Looked like the other four-way stop talked about intersection, so added the word intersection to the Cochran Road stop sign as well. Also added that to the Thompson Road stop sign. These are not new stop signs, just cleaning up language and existing stop signs. There is also a stop sign on Southview Drive heading northbound at the intersection with Joan Ave. Added that to the ordinance. It was not in the ordinance, but it does exist in reality. Added the word intersection to the Westall Drive stop sign. And there's also not a stop sign, or there is a stop sign on Greystone Drive heading into Cochran Road, but it was not in the ordinance. So had the 2 new additional stop signs, but also cleaned up some language on other stop signs in the ordinance.
Thank you for the synopsis and housekeeping. Almost. I know we had talked about this. Sorry, Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the reason I came tonight. So, I'm 100% behind this. I have properties on 2 of the corners there. I did before it's down to 1 now, so. The one corner of Cochran and Thompson, I was working on that corner for well over a year. And I saw so many close calls. The other, that kitty corner, still, oh, we mow that lawn, it's just amazing the number of people. Lots of them from out, there's 2 issues for me. People coming from Huntington, lots of them with out-of-state plates, they don't know what they're doing there, and they just blow through it, and there's, horns go off, and the other issue is that something about that big sweeping corner coming from the village that people don't respect the crosswalk. And they come too close to being hit, and I know other people have told me that they have. So, I was really disappointed when we went through that whole process of what to do in that corner, and I thought, it just seemed to get dropped for a while. And everything was too expensive. I thought all along, just stick 2 more stop signs and be done with it. I mean, if Heinsberg can do it at the Triple L trailer park there, it's just stop cars that are used to blowing through there, and if Williston can do it by the Federated Church. And, there'll be people screaming about it, but they'll get used to it. It's just, somebody's gonna get hurt there.
Thank you.
Did it turn out that the town highway department had stop signs in stock?
Mhm.
It stop signs in stock, and they have put the I wouldn't call them anchors, but whatever
Base.
the hollow bases in already
Yeah.
before the frost. So
So compared to some of the costs we were considering, it's
Yeah.
it's a very inexpensive way to take a shot at this and see how well it works.
Well, thank you for doing it. Assuming you are doing it.
anyone else have anything to add? Questions, comments, critiques?
May I make a comment? I'm driving on Zoom. This is Logan.
Sure, go ahead, Logan.
Hey, thank you. And thanks, Gary, for speaking up in favor of the stop signs. I actually I'm not sure how well these are going to keep people safer. I also live around the corner from this. So the question I'd love to hear is just what sort of data are we going to collect about whether or not this is an effective strategy, and on what review cycle? Because it does feel like it is going to make some people, and it'll make me kind of annoyed. But if we're going to have like a plan to see that it's actually working and useful, I'd love to hear what that is and perhaps be a part of that. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. How would we go about collecting data? I mean, I think most of the information we've had at this point has been anecdotal.
Right.
We haven't really been able to collect data.
We did do a traffic study at one point that
Yes.
included the proposed signs.
We didn't really gather any near miss data or anything, so it's kind of going to be.
Hard to capture what didn't happen.
I'm not really struggling to hear what's going on.
Oh, sorry,
Oh,
Gary.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we were just saying, what kind of, most of the data we've had so far, data hasn't been data, it's been anecdotal, and it's been mostly kind of near misses. So we don't have a way to really quantify that in the past, so we can't really compare it to anything in the future. It's going to be unfortunately, more anecdotal evidence, I think.
I think the risk is like a backup in the morning. I think the thing that's been flagged to us most is the like school time traffic. And if that's backed up in the morning significantly, that's a piece of data that I'm looking for to understand the effects of when we put these in place, of how it changes the traffic patterns versus how it minimizes near risk and so forth. So
Yeah, is there anything else we should be tracking? I think that's a relatively easy one to quantify, or at least verify. What else? You guys have any ideas? Anyone? Logan, any ideas of what we should be tracking?
Thank you. Not that I know of. It feels like, I said this about the traffic hump that was going to be in front of our property, but I fear it's a solution in search of a problem. Oh, that's very loud. Excuse me. And while I appreciate that, like, there have been some near misses, like, I just don't entirely know that we're going to solve much right now. But alas, we'll see. I wish I had some way to quantify it, because even, it's going to change the flow of how things move around some really important parts of our community, and just throwing stop signs in is going to interrupt that flow in a way that feels complicated.
Bart?
So my recollection, the only really objective data we have is from police reported accidents, which were few. I will say, for what it's worth, this board some years ago made a similar request of the state to reduce the speed limit on Route 2 between the village and the highway. And that was really unpopular with some people. I think somebody did the math once on how much longer it would take you at the lower speed to go from the village to the highway, and it's seconds.
32 seconds.
So that is slower if you followed the speed limit. The thought then was, because the shoulders are so marginal, literally, that you see people walking and riding bikes on it occasionally, and the width, especially with trailers. This is a long-winded story about we did that in the absence of compelling data. Like, I don't think there were no accident reports of a kid in a stroller being run over or people on bicycles being run over, but there were stories of near misses, for what that's worth. And so the things that you were close that are never reported, you can't really easily or readily quantify. So I think what we're left with is the subjective stories from people. Is it interfering with your transit? And if so, how much and when? And then for people who live there, how far is traffic backed up? But I think traffic gets backed up there sometimes anyway during school travel. So I'm not sure we've actually measured how much it gets backed up on certain days and whether that would be longer or not. In that regard, we also did some work on the traffic light at the main intersection here in an attempt to get better traffic flow to and from the school during the sort of rush hour, which seems to have helped, but I don't think we have great data on that either, even though that probably is easier to quantify.
We've been fighting that battle for years, but unfortunately, the traffic light that was there before the reconstruction wasn't programmable, whereas this new one is. So the state, once the new light was in, the state worked with us to tweak the timing
Mhm. Yeah, I think that the second part of what you said, Logan, was that we are gonna see changes in the traffic pattern, and that's the data I'm curious about. If the changes are not significant in the negative effect, then that's the data I'm looking for. If we see really negative effects in traffic patterns, as in there's a much longer backup that's unreasonable and times to get to the school are increased in any direction, that's a negative traffic pattern to me. If we're seeing that on the other hand, if we're seeing that people that were coming from Cochran Road who had to wait until their moment to get out before are actually now able to move faster and better, and the traffic, starts to weave into each other more effectively, I think that's like a positive. So I think it's a lot of just, as we've said, this is kind of a test, because I don't know if we know the full repercussions of what will happen when we do this. And we're to the point where we've talked about this so many times, and had so many voices around the risks of that corner, that we're proposing to try this and to monitor the effects of that, and we can move from there. Of course, we want to hear feedback through that process.
So maybe there's a cart before the horse, but if we pass it, it becomes effective in early March. Maybe assuming that this all comes to pass, if it does, we might put a time like in June to put it on the agenda and say, what's our feedback or experience on the new stop sign?
That's very reasonable.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Anything else?
I would just encourage, speaking to the MMUUSD Transportation Department and really encouraging the busing opportunities that there are, especially coming if we're concerned about the Huntington roadside, encouraging more bus ridership since it's already being paid for, rather than having empty buses, just use them or encourage walkability too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually think that's a great point in terms of the buses. They are on a very specific schedule. And so if there is impact to the buses that are coming that way, that's a good piece of data to understand if the timing is significantly impacted in pickups and drop-offs to the school. So we may want to get in touch with the bus barn and see if they would track that data for us or lend that data when it is available.
So just in response to that, I think that's a good thing to track. I agree with what you're saying, but lots of mornings, the bus is backed up right even with my dining room table and the kids are looking in the window waving at me as I'm eating breakfast. So
yep.
Even if it takes a while to get through that, they're still going to be backed up somewhere. So
yep,
it is going to be interesting to follow that.
Yeah, and to that point, like they account for that time. And so, and they're maybe like the most, like they probably understand those traffic patterns better than anyone else, right? So they account for that time and the pickups and then the drop off at the school. If we find that they end up dropping off at the school significantly later, they're getting stuck somewhere for longer, right? So like that data is probably exactly what we're looking for of, what's the name. And there may be buses that drop off earlier and we want to know that too. Are there changes to pick up drop off schedules for kids along those routes?
Anyone else have anything I'd like to do?
Close the
Need to
hearing.
close the hearing and then
This is Caitlin. I move to close the public hearing to consider amendments to the traffic ordinance.
Bart, I'll second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, we could choose to adopt it. We could.
This is Caitlin. I move to adopt the amendments to the traffic ordinance as presented.
Bart, I'll second that.
Motion in a second. All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Caitlin, aye.
Adam, aye. Thank you, everyone.
Great. And just a note as a takeaway, we're going to schedule some time in June to come back together.
To revisit it.
Yeah.
Revisit, yes. Thanks, Greg.
What's going on? Next we have consideration of approving the town center window mural agreement and license with Radiate Art Space. So I think this is, we've gone over this a few times, right? So
Yeah.
we have kind of adjusted the time frame a little bit to make it easier for them to comply. It was kind of set up so that they would have to be repainting and redecorating in the middle of the winter, which was unreasonable. Or
Well, it had a specific time, like a 12-month window, and it had to be done by that time in the spring every year. This gives them a 15-month window so they can have a little wiggle room to get it done in the summertime. It
Perfect.
keeps, I think, most of the core stuff in place, the committee that reviews and approves the murals. It extends the length of the agreement from 1 year to 2 years, so that we'll remember to come back in 2 years and have this updated. And it also allows for some temporary boards to be placed. So if they wanted to paint the murals on temporary boards for display and then take them off and auction them off as a fundraiser, they could do that
Cool.
without compromising the boarding of the actual windows.
Bard,
And just for clarity, my understanding is the Radiate Art Space Board has approved the language as proposed here.
Yeah, my feedback from them is that they're okay with it as proposed. And you guys looked at it, I think, in the last meeting and seemed to be finding it.
So this is Bart. I'd like to move to approve the town center building window mural agreement and license with Radiate Art Space.
This is David. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Adam, aye. We've got to get back to stating our names for the AI.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Great.
AI, aye.
AI, yeah.
Yeah, pre-COVID, purely physical meetings, we just, aye.
All at once.
Yeah.
All right, next we have consideration of approving the consent form for a special assessment district for the Southview Stormwater 3-acre permit. We did get a draft form.
Yeah.
Very last, not the very last minute, but,
Well, no, sorry, you're talking about, yeah.
oh, sorry.
Eric came in.
Yes.
We do have a draft consent form in the packet.
Timers.
Caitlin, you want to make an official?
Using myself, this is Caitlin, because I live in some.
So how to give a concise update. So included in the packet, we do have a draft consent form, and this would be for consent for special assessment district. It incorporates the changes that were talked about at the last meeting, which is the removal of the homeowners as co-permittees. It has language stating that any grant funds will reduce the total cost of the project, and the remaining cost is split between the town and the private property owners based on the percentage of impervious. It updated the date on the notary signature line, and it has a statement that says that the special assessment would begin the first tax year after construction has been completed. I've also included the draft budget in the packet, which we might want to talk a bit about as far as the total cost of the project. And I updated the questions and answer sheet in the packet as well. I guess one other item on the consent form, there was a question about who could fill in the deed information for each individual property. The attorney said that they could probably do that. They could do it. It would probably take an additional hour or 90 minutes of attorney time and a few hours of some paralegal time. So probably $500-600 of additional attorney fees to have the attorney fill that in. So that's the update on how much that would cost, because there is some time to do that. The budget, let me actually pull the budget up here. We can jump into that.
How do I raise my hand?
There we go.
Reactions, I think.
Okay, so there was questions about the permitting costs. I did double check with the state. They confirmed that the permitting fees all looked correct on this, and the future operating fees looked correct as well. I reached out to Andres Torizo, who had put together the budget of $310,000 for construction, to confirm with him on that. And he wanted to remind me that that was a very rough estimate based on not complete plans, and really to get a complete estimate, you would need to complete the plans and then get a more firm estimate. So he was very cautious about that figure being accurate. And if we do want to finalize this, we might want to increase that, knowing that it's in the very early stages of design and it's hard to really estimate the final cost on that.
I'd only add the uncertainty factor of this, that whatever the engineer says it will be may not be what it actually is. It sometimes is less. An example, when we did the water tank, it came in higher than the engineer thought it would be.
Not to be pessimistic, but I guess to be realistic, generally, I would be reluctant to count on it being less.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to digging.
Is there any thought of including some kind of contingency in the budget?
I think the 310 does include some small contingency, but not something that would be commensurate with.
Really, the 5% down here includes a contingency, which, you know, that's not probably high enough for the construction. You know, I added that in thinking of construction as well as the other pieces in this. You know, so I think it's sort of because this is a special assessment consent form, it has to be a not to exceed number. So, you know, you could double that, but then, but then the problem was then when you give the consent form to the residents, you're going to see not to exceed this higher amount, which may make them reluctant to sign a consent form.
I mean, understandably, yeah.
Exactly. So that's where there's a balance on what do we think this would be? Because if it goes over that, the only options are to do another special consent district to try to fund that, which we're trying to avoid, or for the town to assume the additional cost.
I think, I mean, estimating contingency ought to fall within a 1% or less. It's really a contingency for unforeseeable things, you know, soft pockets of gooey earth or something that might make things.
Or really hard earth that you didn't know.
Yeah, and I think if
ledge removal.
If we were to the point of 100% design and we had a lot of that known, then absolutely, I think, like, you know, 10% contingency would totally make sense. This is really an estimate based on like not a full design. They don't know. We haven't done 100% plans.
Kind of more
That's the
proof of concept, engineering proof of concept drawing. Yeah.
We're really kind of early in the process for an estimate, but we're in a chicken and egg area where we need an estimate to have the special assessment district move forward to get a better estimate and to get to construction.
Yeah.
Any further thoughts on then what a percentage would look like for a project like this?
For the unforeseeable stuff, I don't know. It really does depend on how complete the design documents are. If you were 100% design documents, 5% contingency would be kind of normative, but you know, at preliminary, probably double that. I mean, they probably know from a horizontal layout the general quantities of pipes and stuff. It's really, you know, have they done any ledge probes or any of that kind of stuff, which could be incorporated into the bidding language to, you know, sort of make sure that we're not surprised in the field by that stuff.
They didn't do any, there's no boreholes. They did test pits, I believe.
They did some test pits, and that was really to test soils.
Yeah.
Just to see where would they want to place the structures. I mean, I think if we're going to do anything, we would want to increase the total amount of construction and still keep a contingency down here, just knowing that some of these other costs will likely increase over the years too. So, but it's a matter of how much do we increase the construction cost, and then what that is going to increase for the per homeowner cost or potential maximum cost.
But it's maximum if we come in again less than we think we will. If we think it's 310 and we increase it to something higher and we come in at 310, the figure we use is 310, right?
Correct.
Yeah. There'll be a reconciliation at the final closeout.
And there wouldn't be anything even actually charged to the consent district until it's complete and we have all the invoices in. So there wouldn't even need to be a reconciliation. It would just be, here's the final bills, here's the final charge of the assessment.
Marianne?
Yes, hi. I have a couple quick questions. I was reading through the draft of the consent document, and I just want to make sure I understand. I know in the first paragraph it was changed. Is the town then going to be the sole permittee on this permit?
I think that's really the only way that we can be, because,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I just couldn't tell with the language if that's really what you were saying.
Yep, fair question.
Okay. And, and then if you go back to the budget, I want to revisit something we've talked about before, which is for the nominal, let's call it nominal, annual maintenance, annual operating fees, permit renewal fees. Those are the kind of things you're already paying for in other neighborhoods like Greystone and Hidden Pines, Mary Drive. So I guess I'm still asking, can we be treated like the other developments in that regard and not have that part of it be part of the special assessment?
I mean, that's really a question for the select board of how you want to handle that, but to look at that, so the permit renewal fees for non-3 acre sites are also $240, and those occur every 5 years, which is what we have here. 240, and that's 6 times over. I extrapolated that to a 30-year period. Annual operating fees are 160 per acre of impervious surface for the non-3 acre sites, which is the same amount here. It's just we have more acres of impervious, which is 10.35. So it'd be up to the board. Do you want to keep those fees in? Do you want to reduce the percentage somehow? Do you want to take them out?
Well, so the sort of principle of equity across the projects, and the best similar project is Greystone, right? So how do we handle these fees for Greystone, where again it's a combination of the two?
Well, we haven't finalized that with Greystone yet. That'll be later in the meeting. But I think we're contemplating a split based on a
Shares.
percentage split. Yeah.
Good.
So Dana Bianchi, yeah, I really can't understand why you guys would do this. You pay for all the other permitting all around the town, even the maintenance. I mean, you guys do work all over town that we're paying for. And because we're in this little permit district, it feels like you guys just see how we can squeak every dime we can out. The other thing I'm gonna finally say is there was a statement made at the beginning where someone says, well, you guys all have the money up there, implying that we all should be, this isn't a lot of money for us. Well, that's not a true statement. There's some people up there, yes, that have done better than me. But we're doing well, just like everybody else in the town. But it just feels like you're treating us like this. Let's go in there and squeeze every ounce out of these guys. And it's just pay taxes for 33 years. So what, you're gonna charge us for maintenance? And we're gonna pay for the roads that you cleaned up. When there's a flood, we all pay for it. I'm doing all the work. Why are you guys sticking us with this bill? And you'll pay for the rest. That's just no.
I totally get that point of view, and I go to the other, frankly, 3 acre permitting projects, which we didn't create.
There's other towns. Seriously, well, look at us as a whole town.
So then I'd go to Greystone, and they are the closest, most similarly situated, right? Would you think we should pay for the entire Greystone project?
I didn't say the whole project. I said maintenance.
Oh, okay.
Maintenance, those 3 lines.
All right.
Permits and annual maintenance and operation. No, I didn't say the whole project.
All right.
Go ahead.
I think it's a fair point. I guess the only thing I will point out for the record for equity, and I think this is not to pitch against this, but it's just that there are, I guess, our biggest group of lower cost housing in town is subject to a 3 acre site, and they are getting zero town help and paying for all this. So I think that if we're really going to talk about equity here, it's a much more complex discussion. And I know it's privately owned. The trailer park is Riverview Commons, so that's tough, and it makes the permitting and the funding tricky. But ultimately, the owner of that park's not going to pay for this and not pass that cost on. So I mean, yeah, I think it's a fair point that we should pay for the maintenance. I guess I'm not stuck one way or the other. I think at bare minimum, we should discuss the period with which we are going to pay this back special assessment, and we should make the maintenance cost period at least line up with that bare minimum. I do think I think we kind of talked about that at our last meeting, right? So if their payback is going to be 20 years, 10 years, 30 years, whatever it is, and we do have some portion of maintenance in there, that should at least line up. I don't think we're gonna do a 30-year payback on this. Are we? Is that not? Yep. This is more of a question. I know we had talked about all these nuances last time and.
It was 10 years.
Yeah, I thought we had talked about 10 or 20. But Paige, you. Okay.
My recollection is it's 10-year payback, but the 30 years relates to the life expectancy of the system. So I get that, like if you if you only do that over 10 years, that who covers the cost of that for the last one. A couple points I want to make in regards to the Riverview Commons. They are treated differently by the state of Vermont and have access to $250,000 towards construction.
Good point.
So they have different grants available to them with the idea that it's not going to impact low income homeowners. So
Good
the
point.
legislature specifically did that.
Do you think that, I mean, I don't think any of us are stuck on these specific numbers. I think we're all trying to work out something that we can in good faith tell everyone in town that we tried to make it equitable.
Yeah.
And that
I
includes
get,
you and
know,
that includes
you
everyone that's not.
something for us, and then Greystone comes
Yeah.
back and like, why aren't we getting that? But my issue is right up the road from me in Hidden Pines, those fees are covered for them. They were covered for us before we were a 3-acre site.
Oh, we're talking about the annual permit fees or the,
Yeah,
or the,
the-
sorry, the 5-year permit fee and all that. Yeah.
Rating, the annual, the permit renewal, and the annual maintenance. The last one, the recertification, like, that's a big number, and who does that? Does Watershed do that? Like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I guess I don't.
Inspect this thing. And then the last point I'd like to make is that we are unique in that only part of our neighborhood has to do this. There are people who cannot get to their homes without driving on the 3-acre roads. So they're gonna benefit from, if you do this, us paying those stormwater permit renewal fees. When up in Hidden Pines, that gets covered by everyone's taxes. So I really have an issue with you trying to sort of make us pay for fees that we weren't paying in the past. In the past, before we were a 3-acre site, the permit renewal was paid by the town through my taxes. So those are my thoughts.
I'd like to posit an idea and just see what kind of reaction the rest of the board has to this, but to the extent that we've agreed to be the permittee, it makes sense for us to cover the permitting fees portion of this discussion. If for nothing less than to say, you know, we can process these annual renewals or 5-year renewals without having to go, you know, around the neighborhood with a can. You know, that when these things come up, the town road department can just handle it as a function. I see that as a different class of cost than the sort of operating or maintenance, because in that sense, those things are just extensions of your home. I have a well to maintain. I have a septic system I have to maintain. There are neighborhoods like O'Neill Drive in town that are, get hammered a lot more than you are, because, we've already agreed that the infrastructure of your neighborhood is town infrastructure. It's true, as Bart said, that this is something that came to us from the state. It's not something this town imposed on you. We're trying to react as best we could, but I would offer as a sort of way of sawing the baby in half, maybe that to the extent that we're the permittee, that we handle the overhead related to maintaining those permits.
So to be explicit, which I just want to be concrete, so to speak. Which line items here then would we remove? Because I think we've heard several people say move several of these off and onto the town.
Yeah, and bear in mind that as we do that, those costs are getting diffused out into the rest of the community. So I want to try to ameliorate the hard feelings I'm sensing from you guys that you feel like you're being abused. There are people in town who will say, "Well, I don't live anywhere near there, and why am I paying for it?" But
Right, but these have been paid for all along.
well,
So the permit renewal fee, I guess would be line 12. The
I would-
town has paid that fee up until now, right? Is that correct?
right. I would say the maybe 7, 8, 12, and well, 13 is a big number, but that recertification is a permit requirement. Um, that, but at least the permit renewal fee and the permit processing fee and the initial permit. Um, to try to address what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a valid point, Paige.
And to be clear, if that 8901 line 7, if we can get this passed and the NOI in, that will get covered. If
Can
we
I-
don't, then
I want to go to Sarah and then June quick. Sarah, go ahead.
Hi, Sarah Heim, Southview resident. So, I guess I just kind of want to say, I agree. I think that's a logical way of approaching this. And I would really like to just push the select board to consider covering the recertification fee. I know it is a bigger number, but also, like Greg just said, the permit renewal fee and the recertification, they go hand in hand. You can't you can't renew the permit with the state without getting the recertification. And I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that that's part of what the town is covering for example, like the Hidden Pines permit, they also need to renew and get recertification with each renewal from an engineer. So that's something that the town is covering for these other non-3 acre site permits.
Hard.
So just as we talked about sort of the equity for clarity, so as Southview residents going down this path with the town as a whole paying for these fees for your project, would you be comfortable contributing as the town for the same fees for the Greystone project?
Yes.
if that precedent has been in the past. I know there's some neighborhoods that have private roads.
Yeah. Greystone's it's not identical to your situation, but it would be more similar than dissimilar, I would say. The town does take care of the roads and maintain some of the stormwater infrastructure up there.
Yeah, I'll just be clear. The private roads are not on the table for the town, right?
Yeah. Right. But we've been asked.
Yeah, not that people can't ask.
Yeah.
So I guess the other thing, sounds like we're kind of trying to figure out how this all works. What's a repayment period that we think is reasonable? We obviously wouldn't want to exceed the projected lifespan of the project. We could do it shorter. How do we want to do that? I guess I would defer mostly to the residents, what you're comfortable with and what you would like to see for a repayment period on this if it were to be passed, because June, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, I agree with, I live in Southview, but I am not affected by this. So this is not, I'm speaking from an objective perspective. I do think that the town should be covering at least the permit fees and I agree with the recertification of the system. And the reason being is, we know from our discussions in the beginning that the 3 acre rule is this arbitrary rule that's been come up with, and now we have to figure out how to apply. And from my perspective, and I keep saying this, we as members of the town, wherever you live in town, we pay for the stormwater system in the village, which from my point of view is clearly more than 3 acres, but it's not part of this rule. I feel like it would be only fair, if you're talking equity, it would be only fair that the town covers what they're covering for all of the other areas in the town, including Mary Drive and Hidden Pines. And if they're covering it in Greystone, that just seems like an equitable policy. And when you talked, you just said something about, oh, I forgot now. If I think of it, I'll raise my hand again.
Okay. Thank you, Jen.
So just trying to edit the budget a little bit live.
Yeah.
This is where that would get us. This is total per parcel is 71.33.
Did you do anything to the 310?
I did not,
Did
and
we
I think
want
we
to do
did.
anything to that?
I think we probably would recommend we probably want to go up to maybe 400 just to give us some buffer. Not again as a not to exceed. We're not gonna. I mean, you keep it at 310. The risk is if it goes over, then we're in a pickle. If it goes under 400, then the only money that will actually get allocated would be what's actually spent. So it's up to the board where you want to go, how much risk you want to take on that. But again, it's kind of a pretty early number in the estimate phase, in the design phase.
Is there an engineer under contract to do all this work? Or have you
There's
just,
an engineer under contract who completed the preliminary work to get us to a permit. And then they would have further engineering to do to give us a complete set of construction plans.
And even that, it seems like we need a complete set of plans for the notice of intent as well.
Oh, we do.
That's where that.
We need
it's pretty close to 100% at that.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought, so the plans we have are not
So
satisfactory.
there was some feedback from the state that, oh, you could submit these plans and at least sort of check the box for notice of intent, and that might fulfill the grant. But they also in that same email said, but this would not be all that we would need for the plans. And I talked with Andres about that. He's seen this in other ones where like, yeah, you can submit partial plans, but they're going to come back with comments on your notice of intent. And one of those comments is going to be, we need 100% plans. And then you have 60 days to turn that around to them.
So you just
So
buy yourself 60 days.
You buy yourself a little bit of time. It seems like from his
So
experience with these.
we need to plan on that as part of the,
I would think so.
okay,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's where just getting the notice of intent in, we still need some more design, or we could put in what we have, but they're gonna come back.
We will get,
A request for more design to finalize that to satisfy the grant, to satisfy the notice of intent. At least that's what Andrew.
so we are not, I guess I would not say we're under contract, right? Because our contract.
No,
is not gonna
we
expand.
basically went through the end of this preliminary design. We would need to get more design from him or another engineer to finalize this.
So we need to.
Good. So just to be, so this document is something like that's out for public notice. So any contractors that are gonna bid on it are gonna be able to look at it, see what the budget is, and then base a price on that. I've asked guys, I've asked 3 guys.
It's not really uncommon in public contracting for us to say what our budget is.
Sure, as high as you put it, the higher you put it, the higher the price is gonna come in.
Oh, I see what you're saying in terms of
Right,
considering.
price thing. Like, I asked
Yeah, I mean,
3
it's not
different-
unfair point.
It's true, even the engineering, all these costs are laid out, so they're gonna say, oh,
Yeah.
shoot, they got this much budget, well, that's. You know, those guys got money, it's just something.
But that doesn't mean that they would take a job at a loss just because they know the number. I think the concern is that if we don't have a reasonable contingency in our planning, we may get 3/4 of a loaf and then be stuck.
There's always 2 sides to a coin.
Right. No, that's what we're talking about right now is where should we set that number?
So the other thing is the annual maintenance, so we're off that, June made a point, we all pay for it for all the rest of the town. But we're gonna have to pay for ours, just like the whole main downtown here, we pay for cleaning all the storm drains and all that stuff, right? Out of our taxes, that 2,000 a year, right, we pay for everybody down in the village.
Yeah, I mean, this would essentially be I mean, to your point, it's essentially gonna be a vac truck that would come around and vacuum out. There might be a little bit more involved because of the way the structures are with the underground. But every year we do have a vac truck that comes in and takes a look and vacuums out all the sumps
And
and
just send them up there, take them another hour, it's not gonna cost 2,000.
Gonna go to Mary Ann and then Paige. And then I think we do need to.
Yep.
Move on, because we have a very long meeting tonight.
Okay. This Kevin instead of Mary Ann. There he goes.
Hi, you asked earlier for input on how many years for the repayback.
And I know we had this discussion at the last meeting, but currently you're basing it upon a 30-year life cycle of some of these costs. And I'd hate to be the homeowner that pays for future homeowners' maintenance costs. In other words, if you're going 30 years and I'm only in the house for 10 years, I'll be paying the full 30 years of maintenance for that 10 years that I'm here. I'd rather see the two periods match. Either you adjust your numbers down. I know two of them are yelled out now, but either you adjust them down or you increase the payback period to match the number of years that you're collecting money for. That's all.
It's a good point. That was kind of what I was getting at, is I think we want those two to line up so that the payback period reflects the maintenance cost, reflects maybe the lifespan. I don't know.
So that in that case, you divide everything by 30 when you get down to the bottom, right?
There is an overhead to bonding the money though, isn't there?
There would be an overhead, either bonding it or depending if we wanted to, it would, I guess, best case scenario is it would take cash out of reserves and we would be paying ourselves back, but there would be money we didn't realize by not having that sitting in the bank, right? So there is a cost.
We have the reserves. We have that kind of strength in the reserves. I was looking at the budget. I'm not sure we do
at the moment. No. I said best case, right? Not
just
case.
generally speaking, I mean, if you can pay your mortgage off at 15 years, you're going to save a lot of money, but I don't know if it works the same for a town.
Not typically for a bond. I think if you get a bond, there's really not an early payment incentive.
Sometimes there is, but sometimes there's a penalty as well.
And so even, I mean, the interest rates are set by the bond market, but I mean, at 4% over 30 years versus 4%, that total percentage of financing fee versus principal is still going to be higher, to your point, right? So however it's structured, it does cost us more long term to extend it. If we want to do that, I'm not opposed to it. Paige?
Thank you. Question, if I sell my home before or during the period of this 10-year assessment, does the new owner take over? Because I've signed this.
It goes with the property, yeah.
Thank you. If the maintenance comes in at less than the estimated 2,000 a year, do we get billed the actual cost, or is it just the 2,000? Adjust like the amounts for that? Because I don't think the maintenance, they're not gonna find anything in this chamber. It's gonna be bone dry.
No.
Yeah, that's a harder one because we won't have an actual cost of the maintenance
Until they do it.
until they do it. It's, so these ongoing, the only ones we'll have actual costs for are the engineering, the initial permit, and the construction. Everything else, well, I guess annual operating fees could even go up over 30 years, right? Like those could increase. But you're right, annual maintenance, it may not be a full 2,000 each year.
Yeah, I mean, I just would like
Yeah.
there to be something to say like, all right, well, we can adjust that once we know that number. Like, I don't want to be billed for something that isn't the cost. Two more quick things. And I want to point out that your impervious ratio is based on, is not taking into any disconnection into account, which would benefit the homeowners, not the town. It would use that ratio for us.
I mean, I guess, do you guys want us to take disconnection into account? I think what we talked about this is that once we take it into account, it becomes an encumbrance on the property and you have to maintain it as part of the permit. So if there's a disconnection and you want to put a deck or a garage or a play structure there, you cannot do that. And so that's the trade-off.
It's my driveway. Like that's not changing.
Okay.
And I think,
I don't have an opinion on it. Just
Yeah,
I think that's what we had talked about.
just saying that's something in the town's favor, like you're kind of winning on that one. And there may be loans available to municipalities through the Clean Water Fund at very low interest rates for this specifically. I think they're working on that. And then last thing, I do want to point out that we are behind on this because of you're taking advice from the town attorney. We should have been much further along in this process. We could have had much better numbers. We would have had a completed engineering plan and real good construction. Had this not been abandoned.
It's a tough issue because you could blame the town for that readily, or at least as I did at the beginning, since the legislature set this up and gave it to the executive branch of state government to manage, it was our understanding at the time that the executive branch of state government was going to deal directly with property owners. So that was our understanding at the time. As it turns out, you'll recall they sent partial notices to some people, not everybody. It's back to.
Right.
And this has been in the works since 2019.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
And-
Greystone's been working on it since 2020, so. You know, yeah, whose fault is that? I don't know. I'm just saying we're the pawn in the middle. We're the ones that are hurt by it.
Well, I have a clear opinion that it's not the town's fault, and you could disagree with that opinion, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel we should have gotten a letter. Like, I don't know who should have sent that. Should the state or the town send that thing, you know? or
I have an
something.
opinion on that.
The state, yeah.
I don't think since we paid taxes, the state town should have had our best interest in it. They told us as soon as they, obviously it was too much burden. but-
Or go back to the state and say.
All right, we're gonna have to go to Sarah and then we gotta wrap up. Sarah, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. So I just wanted to get an idea of what's the timeline we're looking at. I mean, are we in a position that the select board is going to be ready to sort of approve the language in the consent agreement tonight and approve all necessary next steps that we can get these mailed out to homeowners? Because I believe the deadline's March 1st, and I know the engineers originally had said that this was doable if they could start in early January, and we're already there, and we haven't even sent these out for people to sign or not sign. So I'm just wondering, like, realistically, can we get this in to get the ARPA funding? And if so, like, what is the timeline going to look like for us?
I feel like
So,
I don't know, I feel like the timeline is getting extremely tight.
yeah, so
Even if
can-
we had this approved tonight to try to get it out, get them back and then get Andres hired to complete this, to get the NOI in by March 1st is
Tight.
it's
So
tight,
what
if
do we-
not, maybe not even, I'm not sure if it's doable to be honest at this point.
I guess I don't want to delay it because we're sticking to not stupid, sorry, Josh. I know you set the timeline on here and I agree to it. But we're sticking to an arbitrary time on our select board agenda. So point taken. What do we have to do to get this to a point where we
Well-
have as the homeowners, your recommendation that we approve this language tonight? Greg,
Well, I think we'd have to deal with the term. We'd have to deal with these extracted yellow numbers, whether or not that's adequate. And I think we'd have to settle on where we want to place the budget in terms of a contingency.
For this, and I think the
Yep.
310, you gotta look at.
But I don't think those things in and of themselves are all that difficult. I don't know. I'd be an advocate to plug on
you want to
through.
tackle them? Let's tackle them one at a time then.
Well, at least if nothing else, we can at least deal with those and then everybody knows what they can take back to the neighborhood.
Yeah, so let's start with the fees, since those are highlighted and obvious. What are your thoughts on those? I mean, I'm comfortable.
That was my proposal.
Those are proposals, like, what are, David, Ari, what do you think?
I'm fully in favor of taking 7, 8 to 12. I'm still not sure on 13.
And 11.
11's not highlighted.
I was only talking in terms of permit fees relating them to the city or the town. I mean, being the permittee.
That's reasonable.
It's also managerially more efficient, I think.
So 7, 8, and 12 seems to me easy.
Now,
And I will observe also that then we should take the same approach to at least Greystone as another
yes,
3 per.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
my
and for
next
the- and
point,
for
that
the
this
same-
needs to
under the same
dovetail
logic.
Yeah.
and be fair. Now, I have a question on 11. That's an estimate, but that's the town doing the work, correct?
No, we usually hire out a back.
Okay.
It may well be a high estimate, based on the actual work that's to
It's
do.
literally the back truck driving.
Okay,
Yeah,
but the town coordinates it.
the town will coordinate that and hire that, yes.
Okay. That's what I wasn't sure of, because I was questioning that figure because I had it in my head that the town was actually performing it. So I wanted to know what drove that number, but now that makes sense.
Marianne,
Yep, actually,
Hi.
Kevin.
Yeah. Earlier you were talking about setting a construction cost on this spreadsheet and potentially affecting future bidders on it. I'd recommend that if you feel that the 310 is not a good number, I would work entirely on the contingency fee and keep it separate so that 310 stays as your number that gets publicized to the bidders if they ever look at this.
That
That's
makes
all.
sense.
Yeah.
So that's typically thought of as an owner's contingency.
sure.
Yeah.
And it's appropriate for unforeseen things. I question it. I mean, do we have to pin that number down with 100% certainty before we have finished drawings? Because
That's
I think we have to pin down the maximum because we need to get the special assessment in place to get finished drawings and once
among
it's in
ourselves, but when we go out to bid, that number could be different because at
place,
that
we
point,
will have to have it amongst ourselves and signed by all the homeowners. So the special assessment maximum number will be set before we get,
okay.
If you think of it as the funding source, you gotta have the funding source to cover the costs.
No,
And so and we're usually
clear.
funding for the design, so we need, it is a chicken and the egg kind
Yeah,
of
because
thing.
all we're arguing about is that contingency amount, which doesn't have to be published to potential
it
bidders.
shouldn't be. Yeah.
I like the idea that was brought up that it go into that bottom line total with contingency and leave the 310 alone. Because then it's covered up to that amount. And if it comes in at 320, we have the contingency to
That's what
cover
it's
it,
for.
but we don't, to the point that's been made here, we don't tell people, oh, spend 320 or 350.
Yeah. We'll spend up to. We'll do it for.
Yeah, it's not an invalid concern. People are going to bid to the paperwork.
Yeah. Hopefully.
So if we change that to like 8 or 10, it's kind of high if you do 10.
Well, again, this is
It's not.
a regular contingency. I think 10 is maybe not high enough because this is a contingency for the cost estimate. It's based on very preliminary drawings. So 10% is probably low, perhaps. But it does take a contingency of everything, right? So it adds the whole thing. So
Yeah, so that's a significant
Don't take
percentage
adding
of
some-
construction
Yeah.
fee.
So if you do that, then the total per parcel is 78.91 before the grant, and then 74.92 after the grant, if we can still get in for the grant.
Mike, do you have your hand up?
I was just gonna comment that the quality of that estimate, I would expect would be pretty good if he's charging a 30% engineering fee on versus construction.
30%.
Point taken.
That's high.
It is.
Yeah, and I would say, 10% is about as much as I'd want to tolerate. If it's more than that, then I would go back to the design engineer and ask him to figure out cost, value engineering as the military calls it.
Yeah.
So are the numbers still all working correctly in terms of the cell references here?
I believe so, yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, I pulled these out, so our total is that.
Yeah.
And
Chelsea has a question.
Oh, Chelsea, go ahead.
It's not a question. I was just going to mention, so talking about this contingency, also to kind of keep in mind implementation and when this is actually going to be constructed. Because it's definitely going to be a couple years down the line. I doubt it's going to be next season because the engineer even said that like wetland delineations would have to be done, and that has to be done during the growing season. And so like we're probably looking at earliest 2027 construction. So you're not just talking contingency for this being a preliminary plan, but also inflation and increased costs. So like when Josh said 10% is low, sort of factor in that, not just the fact that like these were preliminary plans. We're looking at
That's a good point.
money. It's just going to cost more.
Year over year, some are 2-3% usually.
At least.
But right now, probably a bit more. That would fall under the contingency, but that's why we're arguing about how big to set that number.
Exactly. That's just what I wanted to mention when you were talking.
And I just want the people who live in the neighborhood to understand, why we're trying to do that. It's not to try to extract more value out of the citizens of this town. We're all in this together.
let me call one other thing, Adam. So, the annual maintenance figure has been brought up by folks in the audience here a couple of times.
Yep.
Which column are we gonna leave that in? Also known as the vac truck.
I mean, the town, I don't have a strong opinion on it.
I don't have
see
religion
some
on the
portion-
subject. I had a clear logic behind pulling out the permit related stuff.
Yeah.
But if there's a consensus that other neighborhoods aren't paying for that, then that's a valid discussion point.
Yeah, I mean, we do pay for all the town-owned sumps and any maintenance on the non-3 acre permits. We would be paying for that as well, because there's no agreement with any homeowners on a non-3 acre permit. So it is somewhat similar to the permit renewal and the recertification fees in that sense.
And it's kind of an embedded cost. It's not a separate contract that we hire somebody just to come up and do that. That would not make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't oppose that to fold that in, but
Different. I mean, I don't get to make the call alone, obviously. So what do you guys think? I mean, I guess the only point I would make is that all of these structures as designed would exist in the town right of way
they would be in the right of way.
by design.
Well, that
We did that to avoid having to get easements and
Right.
retain property rights, because that was going to be difficult. And
Well, we've mentioned Greystone a few times. That's the deal with them as well, that the town is dealing with what's in the right of way. So if there's not a lot of offsite improvements here, it does seem
little to no out of the right of way improvement.
they don't vacuum anything on Snipe Island Road. It's a dirt road, so I don't have that as an annual expense, but
Not yet.
if the other paved roads in town are getting this treatment, then
And the logic would be then Greystone for objects in the right of way to the degree they needed vac trucks, that we treat them comparably and take it out of the homeowner cost and put it into the town column. Does that make sense?
It does.
I guess the one thing, I mean, I don't think anyone in town is going to try to, any future select board is going to try to spend the money because it's there. But if the town does get it, it does force our hand in competitively bidding it. I mean, this is a pretty decent chunk of change, additional amount of vac trucking. So, there's probably some efficiency to be realized by bidding that out yearly and
Yeah, I'm not sure
scheduling
how many vac truck companies there are, but
If they're not,
If I recall, it
used to be
very
three.
limited.
is there only two now?
well, it's an expensive piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you can't use a big part of the.
Yeah.
Is there consensus then on taking line item 11 and turning it yellow?
I think so. That's what I would.
I guess the other piece of that is that I think it's pretty hard to extricate taking it yellow and also the number of years that we're going to put in there. I mean, the term and the number of years that we're going to put these fees, any fees in there, need to line up too, right? So that's the other way we could talk about it, is that if we were to do a 20-year bond and payback period and 20 years of fees, that would change these numbers pretty significantly also.
So what's I think you're right. They should be consistent or aligned, so what's the right number? It should be 30 and 10.
Right.
Should
20
be
and 20?
20, 30, 30, 10, 10. I don't know.
What happens
so
if we
the-
do 2020, both in column D? And then for the assumption for
these don't matter.
revenues down below?
It's good to keep it in there though, so they all line up.
Yeah, I
So we
guess
know,
so.
we know what we're talking about. Those would be 4 and 4, wouldn't they?
You're right, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Four. I thought we were cutting it in half, but we're not.
So
it's
then
less, but
the
not-
total per parcel is,
Went down.
but it's over the life, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it goes,
Talking-
definitely go down, because we pulled the
Oh, that's
60
right.
out
Yeah.
and we made this lower.
So if we're
So
talking,
total-
so that's the total per parcel, so 60.
For the duration.
So from 30 to
what's the
20
duration?
years and the total cost went down for the homeowner.
Well, the annual cost,
Yeah,
yeah,
because
the
these
total,
are-
the sum of the payments may very well go up.
Yeah, without any financing fees, we're talking 300 and
For
$340 a year.
for folks in the neighborhood who think they might move out in the next 10 years, this is a great deal. But if you're there for the rest of, forever, does the town have any concerns about bumping up against their limited bonding authority? Is there any?
I don't think we're close. I think we're okay with that. We've actually reduced a lot of loans lately.
Yeah, I guess
A lot of
we,
the loans are off the books.
yeah, with the fire department and going to capital reserves, we've actually opened up a huge amount of bonding capacity in that way.
Would we
Not
want
that we should try to use it,
Do we
but
want to pull the neighborhood residents here, or do we want to leave that amongst ourselves? Shorter versus longer term?
no, I mean, I think I would defer to the residents entirely on this.
1, 10, 20?
Yeah, what do you?
Well, we have an estimate of the financing costs. Can't we figure out, can't we optimize this?
Yeah. What, I mean, I guess the only real hiccup is we don't know what bond rates will be in 24 to 60 months when we do this, right?
Right.
And it
We
seems
have
to
to
be,
make assumptions.
seems to be a volatile market right now. Do you have a bond
But the
rate?
general principle of stretching the term out to match the life cycle of the
Yeah, we
improvement,
can get a
versus
ballpark, but we can't.
paying it off early and then, I don't know, putting money into a sinking fund for future costs, or whatever.
And do you have a bond?
What's that?
Someone want to pull up a bond calculator? Or you can just Google bond calculator and it'll pull it up and we can do that really quick.
Try that.
Obviously, we're trying to get to a point that's sort of final.
Which one do you want here? There's,
I'm gonna get you to decide that. Someone else look up the rates, so we all are.
That's like to calculate the savings.
oh, okay, so.
Oh, yeah.
What's up orange here? Did you find one?
No, it's a savings bond calculator. Yeah. We need
Calculator, not that, that's.
And that's also like a paper bond.
right.
My AI overview says 10 years are 2.7 to 2.8%, 30 years are 4.19 to 4.25.
This one just wants your social security number. David. Can
Can I get that on the record? So you see what I'm saying about the cost of financing goes up the longer the term.
Yeah.
And so that's a choice you can make. I mean, it's really the town's going to be paying these finance costs, but it's built into the tenor of the deal.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I mean, one thing we could do is just increase the contingency to like 13% to account for a 3% rate on a bond, maybe. Well, that's not.
based on the suggestion that we may not be in a bond market until 2027, I think it's good to put at least one annual increment of inflation into the contingency pot. Because we more than likely will spend that.
Mhm.
But for a 30% fee, the engineer better optimize the cost of this thing to that.
Right, and I think from the customers about it, we would pass it to them, keep your thumb on this engineer for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree completely with that. And I don't think anybody here disagrees. So we know that there's a difference in the overhead cost of that. It's sort of.
It sounds like the 10-year one. We're not going to go with the 10-year one, and the rates for 20 and 30-year bonds are pretty similar.
Pretty similar.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're like 4 for municipal bond. I think are we A or AA?
I don't know.
I think they're like 4 and like 4.2 or 4.4%. So we're pretty similar. So we're paying more for the term, but I mean the rate is at least similar.
Okay.
I don't know. As residents, what do you guys want?
Keep it short.
20? Paige, what do you think?
I mean, I don't like the idea of paying for something for 30 years that, I mean, I'm not gonna be around for right now. I mean.
Oh, I think we're gonna try to.
How do you think I feel?
Like, you're nickel and diming here and somewhat, like maybe we just round that number up to 7,000 and call it a night,
I guess,
There's
well,
nobody
for
on
the repayment term, I mean, the numbers that are in there are for a 20-year period of operating costs. I mean, is a 20-year repayment term acceptable? Does that
I
seem
think
reasonable?
20 is right in the middle because then like 10 is, then like people who are gonna be there for the long term are like paying upfront, basically. People who are gonna be there for the short term are paying and then they're gonna sell their house and I don't know, it's at 20 feels right.
30 gets to the point where like there is an off chance that the system fails and we are paying on a bond or an assessment for a system that no longer exists.
Yep.
It's not like a car. I don't think we can roll this into the next
30 is too
loan. So
Okay, so
Just raise your hand.
Sarah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think 20 is a good place to land on this too. I agree.
Okay, let's go with, it sounds
I'm not
like,
opposed to 20, and 20 makes sense, and I'm appreciating the feedback, but I do just want to call out that when we first talked about this, there was a push for 30 years because that was the anticipated life of the project.
But if we wanna get, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Caitlin. It's okay.
If we want to get it like if treat it like buying a car, like you don't put your loan for the entire life of the car, like you put your loan for before that so that you can get out of the equity risk if what's wrong with it, so it was.
Yeah.
And some of the things that are the longer term things they're not the bulk of the cost here, it's the construction. Yeah.
well, the total cost per parcel, it seems to have gone down when we changed it to 20, right?
Well, because we took other stuff out, but
Well,
yes.
that's true.
No, but remember, what we changed to 20 was the total number of times that we're paying the annual operating fee.
Right.
What's gonna go down. This isn't changing the term of,
Oh,
right? So this is, we're paying less annual operating fees, and then after 20 years, the town pays that fully.
So Nick, I saw a question from Nick has a question about a 10-year term would be about $200 per quarter. I mean, with not including any financing fees, it's a little under that. We're talking about 170 plus financing. So I think a 10-year term, we would be under $200 a quarter. How much would depend on the bond market at that time. And then for a 20-year term, we're talking, a little more than half that, obviously. So we're talking, I think, in the neighborhood of like $100 to $110 a quarter, because there would be additional financing fees, but for twice the term. So
I just,
Paige?
Clean Water State Revolving Fund, State of Vermont, planning loans, 5 to 15 years, 0% interest, design loans, 5 to 15, 0% interest. Municipal construction loans, 20 to 30 years, 2% administrative fee annually.
So that's very competitive compared to Caitlin.
Right. Yes, just to clarify, that 67171, that's per parcel.
Total project
Total
cost,
project.
not including financing.
Year, it's gonna depend on how many years we go with.
Yeah.
And so that's like the.
So what were those terms, Paige? It was 2% fee in it for the construction portion, and it was 15 to 30.
Municipal construction loans, terms of 20 to 30 years, 2% administrative fee annually. Terms need to be less than or equal to the asset life. And
Okay, well, I think
and then it says what can qualify for these stormwater conveyance and or treatment projects, wastewater collection systems.
and so that 20 years lines up with that well, and that gives us an advantageous rate to bond this at. Yeah.
I watched the seminar about this and they talked about these.
So how do you want to factor in costs of 2% of that figure over 20 years?
Yes. I looked up a bond calculator and gave up. So
Well, what if we looked up a loan calculator? I don't know, is that?
yeah, I guess if you do this, you can look at the total cost and do it. Yeah.
Give it back to where. So we get,
Did you plug one in, Josh?
yeah, I'm working on it. Let me try to get to one that I can share a screen on. So just make sure. I don't know if we want, I guess advertising. 300, what do we say, 310,000, right?
Well, it'll be the total
It's the
project cost.
higher figure.
It's the entire oh, we can only do the construction portion, so we have to do two separate loans.
Well, if we got a loan, a CWSRF loan for the planning phase, I think Paige is probably right. That it would be zero, it could be 0% for the engineering. So if we're just looking at construction at 2%, which I think is what.
With this, just the construction at 2%, we're gonna have to take that and then add it into the total amount. Okay, so you're just gonna add the total financing fee into the total.
Right.
Got
Well,
it.
that's what I
Okay,
was thinking
cool.
about doing. So
Yep,
310,
makes sense.
20-year term, interest rate of, we said 2%. And where's that giving us?
$66,000.
Total interest 66. So we can add that into the so with that
There we go. And that's very accurate for 20 years.
seems to
Kind of back where we
according to
were.
the calculator we found online. Hopefully that works.
I mean,
Right.
And then if you took that and just that figure divided by 20,
This one here.
yeah.
yeah,
So be like,
Yeah, you don't have a term on the interest.
What do you mean? Wait. Oh, sorry.
Divided by 80
Interest on.
to get a cost per quarter.
2% on 310.
Wait, so wouldn't you wanna,
Right.
yeah, okay.
Is that right? Because that matches over to
yes,
this.
it's just the total financing fees.
Yeah,
So I
Perfect.
think that gets us there.
just for clarity, I put 20 in the years column with your spreadsheet just to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. And then if we did this divided by 20, oops. Divided by. So 386 per year.
Yeah. 90 some bucks a quarter.
Yeah, 95 bucks a quarter.
That's not punitive. I just, hopefully you feel that's a satisfactory resolution to that.
Yeah, we gotta get this.
Well, there's a cost to dragging it out, and we just talked about it, so okay. And then so we've talked about what the yellow numbers are, we've talked about the term, and so the contingency, do we want to settle on 13.5% or something like that?
Participation.
Well, to account for the fact that we won't be going to the bond market for a year at least, and then the rest is sort of the owner's contingency.
Yeah, 3.5 plus 10.
So if we go to 14, actually, I think I did 14. Sorry. I did 13.5. I just don't have enough decimal places. So that gets us up to about $400 per year.
That's not necessarily going to be spent.
Right.
That's us giving ourselves a cushion.
Hopefully.
Not to exceed is essentially what it is.
Yeah. Well, in order for us to take that position, we have to have some planning wiggle room because we don't have all the facts. But
yeah.
So you want to finalize the form at 600,551? Should be this number here.
I think so.
I mean, of all the residents that are here, how do you all feel about that?
it's a little less than $100 a quarter.
One
And
thumbs
then
up. Paige, how do you feel about this? Thumbs up too.
Feel good.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Just
Mary Ann,
having
Kevin?
enough feel good about it.
Great. We got a thumbs up from Sarah also.
All right.
Anyone else?
Sarah, that's a pretty enthusiastic thumbs up.
That's good.
Green thumbs up. Okay.
I did.
Okay. I guess we've all discovered thumbs up now.
Do you want the attorney put together the information on each property into the for a few $100?
I don't mind helping people that need help with that. I don't do it.
Well, do
Save
you want to
everybody.
help? I mean, it'd be like $700 from the attorney.
Divided by.
I don't
I
wanna
think the
pay
town. I know the town can do that.
So you want to leave it out and Sarah's volunteering to help people out with it?
Another thumbs up.
Okay.
Tell them to do it, and if somebody's really struggling, I'll do it for
All right, no attorney fee on.
them. Everyone can.
Okay.
Public service.
All right, I will get this finalized and out as soon as we can.
What's the turnaround time? Well, I mean, we can go.
What's that?
Go ahead.
Caitlin, what's the turnaround time, for the getting this back? Like, are we putting a date on the letter?
Oh, when we would need them back to the town?
like to me.
Yes, yesterday.
Yeah.
I
I'm just
don't know
worried if
what
you don't put a date on it, then it's not clear that like.
Yeah, that's a good point.
As much as we can communicate, like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's a reasonable timeline that also,
Yeah, I'm trying to think how quickly we'll get it out. I mean, to get it out mailed by the end of this week, if we can get that.
It would give people like 10 days or.
Or by 10 days after mail.
Shorter is better than.
so if we shoot to get it out on the
Yeah.
9th and we get it back by the 19th is a
Reach out to your neighbors.
Holiday.
Yeah, that may make sense to walk.
It's Martin Luther King Day.
Back by Jan 20.
Don't get that day off.
The 20th.
I don't either.
Get the number you need. We don't need 100%, right? Then
Yeah, we need 25.
So are we setting the date as the 16th or the 20th?
What's that? Sorry.
16th or the 20th? There's no postal service and on the 19th or anything, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, hopefully I can get this thing out by the end of the week. If you want to say the 20th, we can get it out on the 9th, get it back by the 20th. I mean,
Yeah.
that's at least the goal date.
It's 11 days. That's 11 days, including the mailing time though.
Because if
so-
we mail it on the 9th, it's gonna take time to get to everybody. It's gonna take a whole time.
Can we like
You can.
charter a mail truck? Caitlin,
I think that's okay. I think that for the most part, like we're all in communication at this
Yeah.
point. And so once, someone gets a letter, like we can do walkarounds, we can let people and stuff. But once you get 25, then you're good.
true.
Right. So it does like if we don't get 25 by that date, then
You're trying.
telling, yeah, but the
Yeah.
date is a little.
Got two hands up.
Go ahead, Mary Ann or Kevin.
Okay, Kevin, I agree with Caitlin. Once you hit 25, I assume the town would take action to move forward of everything.
And then just one more thing, if we do get this through, that 30,000 should reduce the 30,000 of grant money should reduce the 600,551.
Assuming we can still get everything in time. Yes, it would.
Okay.
Sarah?
Sorry. So it wasn't clear to me, just probably because I'm not in the room. So is the town still going to have the attorney fill in sort of all the technical details of the parcel information on this?
No, Paige said she'd do that for everybody if people needed help.
Thank you, Paige.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, my hunch
think-
was to pay the attorney to do it because it's one more thing that everyone has to do in a tight timeline. But Paige did volunteer and express some concern with allocating more funds to said attorney. So,
And I think I
Okay.
heard her, Sarah would help her.
Yeah, I'm not volunteering to do that. Sorry, Paige. I can help explain to people how to find that information, but I was just going to suggest if we're not having the attorney do that, maybe in whatever cover letter goes out with this, Josh, if you could explain how people can find that information,
I don't know.
that would be great.
so can I
I don't.
if we're going to
Yeah.
Paige, I see your point about wanting to do this all ourselves, but if we're going to do this on this tight of a timeline,
Yeah.
can we
Yeah.
just have it filled in so it's one less thing for everyone?
Is that the
Yeah,
latest?
done,
I don't know, like how long was that?
Yeah, well, that's true. So, what's
Yeah, I don't know. I believe.
Yeah, it's right on the
Right.
town website, right?
It's really easy.
Ask the attorney, if they can turn around in a day, great, and you can get the letters out by Friday. If it's gonna delay getting the letters out by the end of the week, then don't fill it.
perfect?
Yeah, and can I just add, so sorry, I just also wanted to say, not everyone might be familiar with like where they can go to get this notarized. My understanding is the town clerk can notarize things for us, so potentially also mentioning that to people so they know that there's a notary close by might be helpful.
Good point.
Okay. Well, see what we can do.
Thank you, everyone.
Make a motion to approve that.
Oh, we do need a motion to approve it as amended or as presented, I guess.
Adam, this is David. I move to approve the consent form for a special assessment district for the Southview Stormwater 3-acre permit.
This Bard, I will second that.
Can we include a
As amended,
total amount on there?
for a total amount not to exceed $600,551. With a 13.5% contingency included.
Or do you accept that amendment?
Yes.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Bart, aye. Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Adam, aye. Thank you, everyone.
So a quick thank you to the Southview community. I know this has been unpleasant, but the fact that you guys as neighbors were able to work together, talk amongst yourselves, put a lot of time and effort into assisting with this whole project has not gone unnoticed, and it's appreciated. Thank you.
Got it. Quick question from Douglas Thompson. I think, Doug, yeah, we will have those timeframes in the final consent letter approved, or sorry, modified to reflect what we talked about tonight.
Great, thank you.
Great. Good point. Okay, our next order item of business is consideration of approving a zoning administrative officer and an acting zoning administrative officer.
I think you said it.
Keith, would you like to give us a run through?
Yeah, so right now, the planning commission unanimously forwarded the recommendation to the select board to elevate Dante to zoning administrator and demote me to acting zoning administrator. I just want to ensure to everybody in the town that we are not running a criminal enterprise out of our office, and we'd appreciate if you would approve that approval.
Okay. Does the planning commission have anything they want to say, or unanimous vote says it all?
It was unanimous vote to make this.
Yes. Okay.
I just have a quick comment. I'm interested in Keith's comment about a criminal enterprise. I won't go deep on that one, but I just wanted to mention that I am looking forward to the planning commission working with the planning and zoning office and Dante in particular, and the sort of, regardless of what's happened in the past, or kind of what went on with our policies, like as I said at the previous meeting, I think like I see a bright future for the things to come, and I was really appreciative. I just wanted to mention to the select board, because this has sort of all been treated as like a technicality. Oh, we just do this, we do that. I think it's really valuable that like we're sort of putting some thought into this, and I really appreciated Dante coming to the planning commission meeting and talking to the planning commissioners. Several of them, I mean, I won't speak for everyone, but we seemed very interested to like hear his perspective, and sort of also like ways that the planning commission can work with the planning and zoning office and Dante in this role. Things that are just, I think will really benefit the town as a whole. So
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
I would add, we'll see what his schedules will allow for that. As far as
You don't think, has he set the precedent that he goes to every meeting now? Is that?
No.
no, certainly not. I'm so sorry.
Do we? Oh, go ahead, Chelsea. Sorry.
Certainly not. It's more so just like some basic collaboration, and like there's a handbook that the state or some organization that is all about zoning administrative publishes, that's like got best practice recommendations and just things like that, and it's some pretty cool stuff that I think would really benefit the town. So I don't know what the workload looks like, but looking forward to that, and perhaps
Great.
the select board or the office making it a priority.
Thanks. I guess we need to make two motions.
This is Caitlin. As per the requirements of 24 VSA chapter 1174448, need my glasses. I move that Dante Denal, oh my gosh, thanks, so much bigger.
I don't know how you can
Be appointed to the position of Richmond zoning administrative officer. This appointment is for a 3-year for a term of 3 years beginning this day, January 5th, 2026.
Second. I can't even read that.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, aye. Congratulations, Dante. And now
Thank
for
you all.
Keith.
It's quite an honor. Good luck with the town plan tonight. I'll see you all in the future.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dante.
I will move per the requirements of 24 VSA chapter 117 subsection 4448. I move that Keith Osborne be appointed to the position of Richmond acting zoning administrative officer to serve in the absence of the zoning administrator per town policy. This appointment is for a term of 3 years beginning this day, January 5th, 2026. This is Bart. I will second that.
Sorry to point it out, Greg, but since it's a Motion, just want to point out it's for Keith Oborn, not Keith Osborne.
Oh my
So
God.
on the record.
That's right.
Okay.
You're not the first.
I don't think he took it personally, but I just want to make sure we.
I
crossed our
amend,
Ts.
I amend my motion to move that Keith Oborn be appointed to the position of Richmond acting
Thanks, Aaron.
zoning administrative officer.
That's important.
Seconded as amended.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Art, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, I.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, aye. Congratulations on your demotion. Next, next order of business is we have a public hearing for the 2026 town plan.
Mr. Chair, this is David. I move to open the public hearing to consider the 2026 town plan.
Ms. Bart, I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Greg, aye.
David,
Oh, David, I.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, aye.
I haven't
Turn
had
it
dinner
over to
yet.
Keith
so
and
I'm like-
Virginia.
Yeah, I'll
gonna
just
go
add
grab
that
a
this is
drink.
the first of
Back.
2 required meetings. We are a town greater than 2,500, and as such, we are required to have 2 public hearings for a town plan update. I'm going to turn this over to Virginia. This has been shepherded in and basically shepherded in by Virginia at this point. I can't tell you how incredibly collaborative the steering committee has been. It's been a pretty amazing committee. I've not actually served on a committee that has been this good. I'd also like to state for the record that we have had 17 in situ meetings open to the public with the town plan at this point. And there are a myriad of other meetings that we had also that were open to the town populace here in this location and also at the library. And with that, I'll turn it over to Virginia.
Thank you. Virginia Clark, Chair of the Richmond Planning Commission. First of all, thank you, everybody, for participating in this year-plus process. It's been very intense. Thanks to the Select Board for fitting us in. Planning Commission, who has the official overview and responsibility for the plan. Thank you to them. And to our fabulous steering committee, of whom we have a couple of public members here, Jason Osterman. Thank you. Chelsea Brooks, who has also gone over to the Planning Commission. Thank you, Chelsea. There's a great group, from the survey to the tabulating of the information to the use of the information and writing of the plan. Turns out a lot has happened in the last 8 years. Lots of state work has happened. So there was much to be done. It was not just a quick rewrite of the data. So anyway, it's been great. It's been, the draft has been around for a few months. So we're hoping that since it's 150 pages, we can't talk about it all right now at this meeting, no matter how fast I talk.
Yes, we could.
Well, yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just tell you about the plan that we have for getting to the town vote on town meeting day in March. Long warning periods, etc. So we're a little jammed up in terms of our time. So we put together a plan to approve a draft document, planning commission level, and approve a set of amendments that were then inserted into that draft to make the draft that we have now, which consists of the actual draft that was approved by the planning commission with a new set of amendments. So there are going to be 2 things that we are hoping that you will approve tonight. One is the draft plan, and the second is these new amendments. And the reason the new amendments aren't already installed into the plan is because we wanted to leave the window open as long as possible for public comment. So we left it open just as long as we could, which exceeded the warning times that we would have to get it in, get it voted, planning commission, etc. So there are in your packet and up on the website, there's the plan, the second draft of the plan that was all approved by the planning commission. And then there is a new set of amendments based on the last 6 weeks of comments. The steering committee took those comments and looked at them carefully, felt that they were insightful, that they added meaning to the plan. And so we prepared this new set of amendments. There are 2 forms that they're in. There is a list of just the amendments, And then there's a list of those amendments being inserted into the second draft of the plan, which becomes the third draft, which we are hoping to get your approval on, which will become the final draft. So the third draft plus the second draft plus the amendments tonight is the third plan. We put them in, do the scrubbing, bring the final plan to your second public hearing on the 21st of January, which allows us to place it on the warning for town meeting on the 22nd of January. So that's our strategy. It has been a compressed timeline. Part of that is because the Regional Planning Commission is also dealing with a very compressed timeline with new statutes that have been passed that have caused them to kind of completely reformulate their planning operation, their mapping system. So they are in a transitional period. We are in a transitional period. We happen to be one of about 5 towns in Chittenden County whose plans are due in 26. So all of those towns are trying to fit in with the new regional planning strategy. The regional plan has to approve our plan in order for it to be an approved town plan. So we do have to fit in with their current 2018 work as well as their 2026 work. So that has made it more complex for us. So it's kind of pushed the timeline back a little bit.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Before we move on, did we officially open the hearing?
We did.
Yes.
You did, okay, good, sorry. Just trying to make sure, sorry.
It was open, yep, we good. Okay, so tonight, what I thought we could do is, besides talking a little bit about the process, which we just did, and why we are doing it with this kind of strategy, is to look at the amendments, thinking that since the plan actually in some kind of draft form has been around for several months, the amendments have not been available to look at for several months. So we could talk a little bit more about the amendments tonight, if that is agreeable to people.
Makes sense.
Any questions so far, or does anyone want to do anything differently?
That sounds great. The way you said.
Yeah, I think the amendments are the part that is new to everyone right now. So
The amendments are the
focus on
visitors do. And so reading from the memo that was in your packet also, the comments in the last 6 weeks tended to fall mostly into 2 buckets. One is an equity bucket that was looked at through an equity lens, and an inclusive, how are our policies in our town plan supporting our statement in the introduction to the plan that we are an inclusive community and that we have passed regulations about inclusiveness or inclusivity. So there's that bucket of comments that occurs in several different sections of the plan. And then there were a number of natural resources comments. So people, I would say in this last 6 weeks period, that people who are really interested in certain sections came out and really read it in detail. So those 2 things are the main places that comments occurred. Okay, so we can start with, do we want to show the third draft? Would you like to look at the comments in their context in?
When do you want, Virginia?
So it would be the third draft. Yeah,
That's it.
that's.
Oh, it's second draft.
That's the third draft. Well, it will be the third draft if it's got the red
Are the
comments.
comments in here?
It does not. That's the second draft. The third draft needs to be pulled up.
Yeah.
So that's third draft here. I think.
You'll know.
The header has third draft.
There you are.
So that's our river that we know features big in our lives.
Looks a little bit.
So,
Why did I print that?
all right, so we move into some of the equity comments. There was a push to have more discussion about, you can go to the first red lines, more conversation about access to food. So we've added some emphasis to food security, because we know that's a problem. We have added food security line in this section. This is the community development basic needs. So we would like to emphasize that there is more to develop a local food system, and also its relationship to farming should be emphasized. We thought that was a reasonable addition. I'm going to go to the important ones. We had a couple of other comments that were put in under community recreation. That's minor comment. But in an action item under goal 1, and as you know, the plan is arranged in a text, a narrative, and then there are goals and action items. So an additional action item under goal 1 was to form a task force to develop and implement additional strategies for food security to promote the connection between food and farming. And Alexis Latham has volunteered to head this task force. So we have encouraged her to come before the select board and promote this idea. Many of our goals are implemented, many are not from our plans. We try to give people room who would like to champion an idea to come before the select board and present her idea and encourage you to form a task force. She has some ideas on the subject. So that's a goal. Couple more references to supporting food security and access questions. Another place that equity was added was in the education section. And there were a number of things that the Richmond Racial Equity Committee, various members from that committee recommended regarding education. Many of these will fall to the Richmond MMU USD school board people. They are not things that the select board may necessarily be involved in, but they're encouraging the diverse use of the facilities and support for equity in providing education for all students, no matter who they are or where they're from or what their income status is. So there are a number of just additions to the goals that we already had a general statement about it, but this gives more particulars. And this is one thing that we know. You can scroll down through. Yeah, just kind of roll slowly through it. You'll get the feeling for the fact that each item keep going down. They're mostly in the, you know, some are in the text, some of these, in terms of recognizing that not all kids have the equal access to education just based on their own situation. So we're encouraging the use of the facilities, the use of professional development related to multilingual, underserved communities.
So really what it's doing, just to cut in real quick, is it's really expanding on this whole issue of racial equity in these sections. We had language in there before. This is just expanding on it more than anything, because we were able to discuss this with other folks to flesh it out.
Yeah, and it will be appreciated by Regional Planning Commission, who in their initial assessment of our plan that they gave us in December of 24, mentioned that there's a new statute, Act 154, that talks about justice. It's the environmental justice statute. So this is actually going to give some concrete things that we have not put in there, even though we've noted the general idea of it. Okay, so quite a number of these things in the educational section. Okay, so we can now skip down to the next. That's most of the ones that have to do with equity. There is one in transportation and one in policing, which we will look at later, just short, little added emphasis. But we come to the natural resources. You can go all the way to section 6, which is the future land use section.
You know what page number? Do you have a page number reference?
Page number is 43. Okay. So future land use and natural resources both have to do with natural resources. In the last 8 years, there's been a lot of work at the state level about protecting our natural resources. Towns have been encouraged to think about protecting their natural resources, but nothing was really decided for them, if you want to look at it like that, or
Pathway wasn't given or.
yeah, there was no guidance exactly. So the Agency of Natural Resources has developed a lot of mapping tools now so that we actually know where the natural resources are, what is important to protect. The concept of forest blocks of highest priority and high priority natural resources has come into being. So you can move on down through the future land use section to the future land use. So the future land use section talks basically about what we have now with our land, what we think about the land in the future. This was what the Regional Planning Commission had developed a whole new mapping system for, based on the statewide mapping now. So our future land use map has to be what's called compatible with the regional map. So we elected to use their new map as our base map, because we thought that that would probably be compatible if we used the base map as the same. However, in working with the natural resource people, the Conservation Commission and so forth, they felt that it was important to understand, if we were going to think about our natural resources, where they are. So what we did was we took the overlay maps of all the different kinds of natural resources, riparian areas, interior forests, connectivity, which is to allow animals to move, and we overlaid them on top of the map and created our own municipal future land use map, which is very similar to the Regional Planning Commission's map, but it has some additional natural resources. The point of this map is to let us know where the natural resources are, if we're going to think about ways that we're going to protect them. The future land use map that comes from this section is not a zoning map. It has no regulatory power of its own. It is providing us with a picture of where the natural resources are. If we want to make any changes to our zoning districts subsequent to this plan, the Planning Commission will have a whole process of looking at that. What do we want to do? How do we want to think about protecting our natural resources? This map that occurs in the town plan is not a zoning map, that everybody understands that. So the point is to better identify our natural resources so that we can protect them. Statutes have been passed, such as the 30 by 30 statute, which requires that Vermont save 30% of its land, conserve it by 2030. But they're letting the towns figure out how to actually do that. And 50% by 2050. Because the Agency of Natural Resources has been tracking the fact that we're losing wetlands, we're losing forests, we're losing our wildlife. So if we want to continue to have a functioning ecosystem with all of those things, then we need to start thinking about how we can protect them. So we can move on a little bit.
May I interject just
Yes.
before you move off the topic of mapping?
Yes.
I think I read in your notes, we also had a citizen bring it up earlier today. I did.
Yes.
That the maps don't necessarily show all parcels, you know, that the land, the map isn't wholly consistent with the actual parcel layout in the town. And I just want to give you an opportunity to comment on that. I expect that the answer lies under the umbrella that this is not an official zoning map, but I think there is some sensitivity to that. And I think you alluded to the fact that over time you would be correcting that if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the first time that the maps from the state level and certainly from our level have been parcel maps they have had parcel boundaries on them. And the Regional Planning Commission was under an intense compressed timeline also. And they, of course, did not investigate every parcel boundary and are waiting for the towns over time to figure that out. Our map can be amended at any time, and we have statements in here that say that we will be amending it on a regular basis. If there are on the ground concerns, if parcel lines, parcel boundaries, and they will change also every year. Parcel boundaries may change. There may be subdivisions or whatever, and that will cause us to update our map.
I would add that our zoning map is based on the same layer that this future land use map is based on tax map parcels.
Right.
Specifically, when we get a permit in, we look at the permit and specifically go down to the granular level. You can't do that there. It's just a general map is what it is.
Well, I mean, we heard earlier this evening how somebody felt subdivided parcels of theirs had disappeared somehow. I think the answer is the maps aren't complete, but I think we would want to take care to make sure, just because it creates a headwinds for us as we try to move forward with this. Just another side question related to the mapping is, do you have any sense of how far we are from this goal of 30 by 30? I mean, Richmond's pretty good about
16% of the land
It's in this town
in Richmond
currently.
Okay. And counting.
Yeah, and various towns are completely different. Obviously, Bolton has about 50% of its land conserved. But you look at the maps of Bolton.
Yeah.
And they're all not developable, basically.
Right.
So, and then the urban towns, of course, will have less.
Mhm.
So it's variable, and there's no, there's nothing that says every single town has to have 30% of its land conserved. That's not our goal, is to necessarily, but it is as encouraged by the state statute to contribute to the fact that we have land. It's a very transitional period right now because many people feel we've always had all this land. We'll always have all this land. But in fact, it is disappearing. And so the state has become concerned about having an actual way to preserve it. So
I received a letter. Did anybody else get a letter in their email, their town email from somebody in town? I've heard this motion expressed by a couple of people. I think the primary tension that we may run into is our strong desire to preserve, conserve, and our also sort of pressing need to deal with housing. So,
Yes.
As we move forward, I just want to try to bring some balance to that conversation, but.
Right. And the point of the new mapping system from the state was to rebalance Act 250.
Yep.
So there are some areas where housing is encouraged by the exemption from Act 250. The select board, where you were on it, motioned to approve the status of Tier 1B, which allows the exemption in the more densely populated areas from Act 250. The balance that was struck by the legislature was that there would be, in some areas, that they determined, the new land use review board, which is like the old Act 250 board, they would be able to have more oversight of Act 250. So that's the balance. So there will be, that is out of our control.
Right.
The new land use board, which has to approve all these maps also, by the way, they will determine where they want to have more Act 250 oversight and less Act 250 oversight. So that is not in our purview.
No.
So, but we have in several areas stated that we will be adjusting our map. We understand Regional Planning Commission will be adjusting their map. We will be adjusting our map. It may take months to years. And every year there will be some new parcel boundaries since it's now a parcel map.
Is it safe to say that there are parts of the town that are not conserved, but effectively can't be developed because either floodway, floodplain, or slope?
That's a thought.
So they're essentially protected by their topography or susceptibility to flooding, but they are not technically conserved.
Right, and there are parcels that are in the current use program. The current use program, you get, tax reductions. If you are in a farming or forestry business, you have to have a plan, you have a management plan, so, well, they are not technically conserved, but it costs you money to get out of current use. So,
Which limits development.
development is not going to happen there readily. And the same with places where it's very difficult to develop, very steep slopes or, it's cost prohibitively developable, hard to develop. So, yeah, it doesn't have to necessarily be conserved. The definitions that were brought from the legislature for this new mapping system are very much overlapping. So in the rural areas, in the natural resource areas, you have rural general, which is mostly kind of along roads, but there are some big lots. They are also supposed to be protecting their natural resources to people who live in those areas. There is what's called rural ag and forestry, which is like mostly ag and forestry, but you're also supposed to be conserving your natural resources. And then there's rural conservation, which are places that have resources on them. So I think that's where the controversy comes with our map, is that some folks felt that we used the natural resource overlays to place land in a conservation color on the map. It doesn't mean there's no development there. There's no change from our zoning map. We just now know that there are natural resources there. And if we want to think about what we want to do about them, then that will be the planning commission's job. So that's the explains it a little bit.
Thank you.
Oh, Karen, go ahead.
Hi, I just have a couple of comments that are a question that I'd like to clarify right now. First, I'm sorry that the map isn't on display also to help people who haven't seen this but might be listening to the hearing. Virginia, you've mentioned several times that the map can be adjusted and changed as we go along. I had thought that once this new town plan passes, the map is part of the town plan, and that if we want to change the map, we would have to amend the town plan. Zoning, by my understanding, sets the rules for what happens in various districts, what's required or is not required. But zoning doesn't change the town plan map, does it?
No, zoning doesn't change the town plan map, but we can amend the town plan map or any other part of the town plan at any point.
So as the zoning gets written with specifics, then you would go back and go through the whole process of amending the map?
Well, the zoning, we don't have to amend this map necessarily to work on the zoning. We can work on the zoning. This map allows us to work on the zoning. It doesn't dictate how we work on the zoning, this map. If we want to go back and amend it, let's say, because there's some parcels that the boundaries are not correct, or there's some other thing about it that's not correct, the floodplain is not perfectly correct, for instance, then we can amend this map in the town plan. But what we do with the zoning can be done with this map.
In the plan.
I'll try to be quick here and not drag this out, and I hate using my own land as a personal example, because this plan is so much more than that. But I live along the Huntington River, and so we have the Green River Strip. And then there's a couple acre field behind me that maybe could have been the rural ag, which is what I call the yellow. And then the back of my lot, which is yellow, is an exceedingly steep hill. So to use this map to determine which zone it would fall in or what could be built where is inaccurate.
This map is not going to be used to determine what could be built where.
Well, the zoning will say that general rural needs to meet this criteria, whereas the conservation needs to meet a different criteria, correct?
No, we don't have to do it. We don't need to do it that way. We can set up, for instance, a very specific criteria set. So for instance, if your yard has a vernal pool or a rare and endangered species, if your yard has that in it, then that will limit the development, not what color it is on this map.
Could I make a comment? Because I heard this at the Regional Planning Commission as well, from other towns, people saying to that point, that this is kind of broad scale and that level of detail about a steep slope in this location or a vernal pool in this location would never be captured by the Regional Planning Commission at their scale. And they were open to that. They freely stated that. And I think it strikes me then there are these levels of detail from the very broad to slightly less broad to really detailed, which probably only comes through with zoning and permitting. Like, is there a vernal pool or a wetland in that little spot or not?
Yeah, it's on the ground detail. And, you know, the Regional Planning Commission had like a year to develop this map with 13 districts. But they had to make 13 districts. They couldn't possibly look at the on the ground of every single town. So, you know, they did the best they could with their broad brush. And the rest is up to the municipalities, what they do with this information. So, and what we intend to do is to look at the details, to look at the actual things that we might be preserving. Yes, Karen, sorry.
I had muted myself. I just said thank you. I'm all done.
Thank you, Karen.
And I'll just add one other thing, if I could, Virginia. It seems patently obvious to me that the state and others are looking at like historic districts and village centers as loci of development, that there's been a lot of focus on that. And one case example of that was it came up around South Burlington, of all places. And somebody from South Burlington posed the rhetorical question, what's the historical village center of South Burlington? You'd be hard pressed to find one. And there was some controversy over the development that was going on by like Trader Joe's and back there. And it's pretty intense, large development. And there was a question, well, it's not part of an historical village center, which to me just illustrated the focus of land use planning on development around historical village centers for what that.
Yeah, that's by design in South Burlington for sure. You know, they're building that all out as to have an identity. Because they don't have an identity.
And the other thing that we found about the new regional map is that their map is really a current use map. It's not really a future use map.
It's a snapshot.
Yeah, it's a snapshot of what is now, what agricultural parcels they made in one district. Where there was forest, they made in another district. They even, and based upon the comments that were submitted early in the process by Richmond folks, they didn't really pick up on all the parcels that were already conserved and put them in the conservation district. So, you know, they're still working their way through this, and they're depending on the ground over time changes to be made by the municipalities. It will take a while. So
I would add, there's no prohibition to any town revising their map, their future land use. There's no prohibition. It just has to align. That's the main issue, the main wording.
So that's our map, and basically the yellow is rural general, which is what they did is they took where there was development, which is mostly along our roads. The kind of bluish pieces are ag and forestry, what they call ag and forestry. And the green is mostly forested, basically. It's what they're calling rural conservation, but it's not all conserved district. Some of it's floodplain, for instance, all along the river, that little blue line going through the middle. That's all floodplain. That is conserved just because you can't build in it. It's not conserved exactly, but we have regulations in Richmond that say you cannot put building developments in floodplain. Trying to take into consideration the headwaters of the streams that wash out the roads like Snipe Ireland and Stage Road. Taking into consideration those areas that should be protected unless we want to keep redoing our roads. So anyway, as I said, it will be a process that the planning commission will look at the information. We will try to think about where there are areas that can be developed. In none of these areas is development prohibited. It's just that the statutes state try to do it carefully, basically, so that you're not destroying natural resources or the riparian areas or making more flooding or any of those things. Any more questions about that? Okay. So moving along with natural resources comments, and you can think, if you have any more comments about this that occur to you later, that'd be fine. And you can look for the sections in the action items in the future land use section that talk about amending them. Our separate that talk about how we can amend at any time and that we're going to amend it. About.
What page are you gonna be on, Virginia?
Let's see. That's page 50, I think.
So
What did you have?
I said 63. I was looking at
63 is the natural resources. So yeah, keep going a little bit. These page numbers are from the older draft because we added this in, so the numbers will be a little bit. Sure. Yeah, go to the goals and actions.
Sure.
Keep going. Yep, keep going. Okay, so we added these goals in the amendments list. To review the map when the land use review board has completed its regulations, which it pushed back from February until September of this year. So we're getting a little nervous that we're not going to be able to approve this map in 26 and it will lapse. So when they've completed their regulations, when any changes are made to the regional map and whenever on the ground corrections are requested by owners. And then number 8, the future land use map should be reviewed to align with the current tax map revisions for corrections made if needed or necessary. So we feel we're going to be working with this map.
It's a living document.
All right, any more questions about that? Moving on to the natural resources section. We felt that we hadn't explained that is page 63.
65.
Oh, 65. All right, natural resources. Because of the comments that came in, we felt we hadn't explained it very well about natural resources. So we added some text if you want to scroll up a little bit there or scroll down. We added some language about what forests Forest blocks are, this might be new language for people, highest priority, high priority. These are terms that came out of the Agency of Natural Resources. And we felt we should explain them a little more. So we added some text there. Then scrolling down, continue the Andrews Community Forest. We have a lot of comments about that and about balancing the recreation and the natural resources. So we tried to make it a little bit clear. Some people didn't like that recreation was included with natural resources, but obviously outdoor recreation and natural resources do share the same space. So we made some corrections to the language in that section.
The actions.
And the action items. The conservation organizations, we had people from the Land Trust who corrected some of what they felt were factual mistakes. So there are some changes there. Moving down to the action items. Regularly update there, regularly monitor changes in local ecosystems. And these are all going to be done by the Conservation Commission. These are things that they want to do in terms of once I have now identified our natural resources, which we're encouraged to do, we would like to monitor them. Conservation Commission will do this to whatever degree that we can. And just emphasizing a little bit that this work in the last 60 years has been to draw attention to the natural resources as well as to the housing, obviously, but trails there was a lot of conversation about trails.
Going in the right direction here. Or what?
Yeah, right there. In this community forest, we've had some difficulty coming to consensus about trails. On the planning commission's agenda is to make up some definitions so that we're all talking about the same thing when we talk about trails. Currently in the zoning, it says a recreation path can be anywhere.
No definition.
What is that? Is that a trail? Is that a trail with bridges? Is that a trail that's 20 feet wide? You know, what is a trail? Can we at least come to some kind of definition so that we can talk about trails in a way that everybody is talking about the same thing? So we're encouraging the Andrews Community Forest to, come to consensus. They are trying. We didn't want to be negative. We want property rights and also sensitive natural areas. It's a difficult task, I mean, none of these things is there any answer to exactly? It's a balancing. Any questions about that? So all of these words that we have added are just fleshing out what we already had, the concepts that we had already. But giving more emphasis as the people who are interested in these things wished. We were able to take pretty much all of the public comments that we received and massage them in some way and put them into the document in a place that would be satisfying to the people who are interested in that particular.
And I would say not every comment was installed. I mean, it was synthesized and then installed, through the steering committee.
Yeah, and tried to match them with language that was already there. Okay, page 137 and 138, probably down just a little bit. No, I guess it's a few pages there. Okay.
So that was about.
Yeah, it's in there was a small addition about natural resources to the appendix. So I think that's it. This is the long appendix. The appendix is 50 pages. Here we go. This is just talking about some of the tools that now exist, like the BioFinder online mapping tool. which is not that easy to use, but it's a great tool when you can figure it out. And it talks about the mapping, systems that we use to overlay the natural resources. Okay, any questions? That plan, we feel it's a good plan. It's a great plan. And the steering committee members worked very hard to try to get it right, and I think they did, and they made a good plan, and the planning commission liked it, and so that's what we've got.
Well, a comment and then a question. First, I'm always amazed at the amount of work and detail that go into our town plan. So thanks for everybody, for all that. I guess a question, other than some of the mapping thing, which I've heard sort of variations of for at least 6 months anyway. What sort of controversies, are there any, like, you know, residual controversies or sticky wickets that you would draw our attention to?
Obviously, the attention has been on natural resources and the flu map. And I would say trails down the line is probably going to be a sticky wicket because that's been a little bit controversial. But besides that, I mean, it's a pretty benign document.
A follow-up question. So in terms of trails, some of that may be definitional, but it may then fall into what does that imply for zoning of trails?
Right.
That's really where the rubber hits the road, if you will.
You know, the Andrews Community Forest Committee feels that it would be helpful to understand if we're going to make any regulations about zoning, that many people in town would like to see regulations about trails, that they are not built everywhere, that they are not built in sensitive natural areas. Many people would like to use them recreationally. That is a controversial, it's not a sticking point to the plan, but it's a sticking point to the whole town planning process. And I think so is the conservation question. You know, how are we going to preserve our natural resources into the future and still have housing? You know, and in Richmond, we don't have much good place like flatland, like in Williston. There's not very much place that's good to develop, that's cheap to develop. So to have affordable housing or housing that's even kind of affordable to most people is difficult because it's expensive to build here because of all the, you know, steep slopes, and the natural resource constraints. We had people who definitely wanted us to do something about the high parts of the hills so that our roads don't wash out. You live on one of those roads.
Oh, yeah, I've experienced complete washouts.
Yeah, so
3 or 4 times in the 38 years I've been there.
the system, obviously, and in the transportation section, we have quite a lot of information about the hardening of the roads and the resiliency. You know, resiliency is a big thing.
Yeah.
But also protecting the headwaters of those streams and the course of those streams is a natural resources question. So it's a transitional period. I mean, it used to be that we thought of either land was developable, you could put buildings on it, or it was not developable. Now we have a lot of land that is farming development, or, you know, that doesn't preserve the ecosystem, but it's an essential thing to do, farming. So what are we calling that? Are we calling that development, or are we calling it conservation? So there are a lot of these controversies that are just out there in the world among people. And we tried to put them into the plan, in the narrative, in the text, to talk about them.
I've been recreating in those woods for 4 decades now, and one thing I have noticed is that Richmond is sort of the first town of opportunity for people coming out of South Burlington and Burlington who want to do this kind of trail-related recreation, mountain biking. You know, back when I got my first mountain bike, it was just me and my one neighbor, and you know, now it's scores of people who want to be up in there. And it makes me think that at some point we may want to look at some kind of like town permit system similar to what Essex does with the Indian River Reservation, or I don't know, that there may be an opportunity there to get some value for that, you know, help justify paying for it and maintaining it. I don't know if that's a planning document thing, but I do know that it's more than just people from Richmond who are taking advantage of these resources.
And it's not just town property that's being recreated on, and it's private property that's being recreated on.
Right.
It's actually sort of the issue.
Yeah.
Is that private property?
And then there's the parking problem.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Is it outdoor recreation? Is it not?
Right, someplace like First Mountain, which it was great for a while, and then now it's so crowded on the roads, on the parking, you know, so these things evolve, and what was lovely and cool then becomes kind of a little bit problematic and how to deal with it. So anyway.
There is a suggestion, just to add to that, for, you know, I know that obviously funding is, you know, always a concern, but there is a suggestion for a concept of a recreation director, so kind of take point on this. And I think just from my point of view, because I share the, you know, affinity for hanging out and enjoys the trails and stuff, I do it all the time, but I've certainly noticed that it's, you know, I've been here for 8 years, within those 8 years, I've noticed an increase. And I've also, you know, I run around Cochran's a lot, you know, the roads. And I think it bears in mind that we should think about it from some safety aspects as well. And I know that there's always been some discussion about what we do about Cochran and all that, but like I had to stop running on Cochran. I almost got hit, you know, simply a couple of pinch points on that road. And, you know, when the sun sets and people are late coming home, they can't always see it. So I think it just bears in mind about thinking about the future and how to manage that.
And we did add in several places that it would be helpful to have a recreation director. We stopped short of saying you must make a recreation director position, because obviously it's about the money, right? You know, but we've got quite a number of comments about how good it would be, how beneficial it would be to have a recreation director and someone to organize those kinds of things.
So 2 historical follow-up comments. One, Cochran Road was specifically a subject of a study, you know, and again, like nothing that time and money, and by money, I mean a very large amount of money could solve. And partly it's back to the topography. And if you run along that road, you look at some of the slopes on each side.
Yeah, there's pinch points for sure.
And, but even more than pinch points, like to widen the road, you got to fill how much? How many hundreds of yards of fill? So that was sort of where that sat, for better and worse. I think that's sort of we heard so many different opinions about that specific road. I actually got an email from somebody from another town who said we should shut Cochran Road down to vehicles for like 2 hours a day so that people could recreate on it. And I don't say that I don't mean that from humor. That guy thought that was seriously what we should do, because it's such a good road if there are vehicles on it for recreation. It sort of illustrates the diversity of opinion, I guess.
And also there's the problem that it's the truck route, because they didn't want the trucks going through the village, so they put them on Cochran Road, which doesn't help either.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know, and what is the answer to that? Maybe make trails elsewhere so that people would be attracted elsewhere. I mean, you know, this requires thinking and trying to balance the wishes. So,
I'll know the other thing I'll say is I can't remember how many years ago it was when the question of a recreation director was a vote at town meeting and was voted down. And it's a reasonable question if we wanted to put it as an add-on to the budget that people want to vote and pay for a recreation director. I don't know what the answer would be now.
Well, it's necessarily has to be a director level position, but
Well,
certainly could be a manager or something along that lines. But
No, I hear people use the word recreation director
Yeah,
and
that's what it would be.
it's not as laden as we might think in terms of directing a unit of staff. It's like Robin and his merry man kind of thing.
And things may have changed since the last time it was proposed.
I agree.
I mean, in terms of the tubing on the river and biking.
Now recreation going on,
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Back then it was like soccer and little league kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, pickleball.
With the view that this is, an
Yeah.
8-year plan.
Yeah.
And, with the 8 years, we've seen change thinking on about that, so.
I bring it up consciously because we are drawing close to our budget. It is possible, of course, still to add an item to the ballot that said, do people want to pay this much money for a recreation staff person director?
maybe next year.
It's probably not too late even for this year, is it?
Oh, it's a worthy conversation. It would be a worthwhile conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be a discussion topic of a non-binding resolution at
There you
town
go.
meeting, which would be a much easier addition and have some more to talk about in the in-person portion of town meeting. this
You
year.
definitely need to have discourse on that, that's for sure.
Yeah. And there would be.
Yep, it certainly would be positive and negative.
So that's what we've got, and we are, we would be happy to do a couple of like in-person presentations to the public if they wished, or if you all thought that would be a good idea between now and town meeting to explain more about it, if people are feeling that they, haven't had time really to digest all this information. We're happy to do that, if anybody wants up.
We have one more meeting specifically on this subject, right? But it's not necessarily that we're heading to a motion tonight, is it?
Well, so what I'd like you to do is to make a motion tonight to approve the draft, the second draft, and the list of amendments. Which is what you saw in red, but it also exists as a separate list. And what will do is to amalgamate those two into a third draft. And that is what you would then vote on at your second required public hearing. And that would become the final draft that would then appear on the.
Yes, we had to close the hearing, and then, we have another public hearing.
21st.
Which would be, there wouldn't be that much room for changes at that meeting, right? The deadline is the 24th.
I mean, what we would really like you to do is to approve this to become the third draft.
Sure.
And then we will present the third draft, which is just all this that we just approved.
Sweet.
That would be for approval at the 21st.
Perfect.
This is Caitlin. I move to close the public hearing.
I don't know if you've.
Yeah, does anyone else in the public have any questions, comments, thoughts before we close the public hearing? Okay.
Chelsea.
No, I'm good. If you've had questions, we're happy to comment. It's been a really interesting process. I've enjoyed it. Getting to know about a lot of different things in town and meeting a lot of members of the public and all of our outreach events. It's been really cool.
This is Caitlin. I move to close the public hearing to consider the 2026 town plan.
Adam, this is David. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Caitlin, aye.
Adam, aye. So the public hearing portion is closed. We can decide what we would like to do with the.
Mr. Chair, this is David. I move to direct the Planning Commission to enact the changes to the 2026 town plan as discussed tonight for the January 21st second public hearing.
Is Caitlin all second?
Any further discussion?
Is to approve the draft and to approve the list of two things that we want you all to approve.
So are we satisfied that the wording we have used.
As discussed tonight, does that include the,
It's changes, but it's also explicitly
To
stated.
approve the second draft and change and a list of changes.
okay,
Yep, second draft
The list of.
and the list of amendments. And
So-
that's probably what you said, David.
no, it
Yep,
isn't.
there. It says, this is the motion. It was, I move to direct the planning commission to enact the changes to the 2026 town plan as discussed tonight in the January 21st, second public hearing.
So I will amend my
Did I
motion.
miss something on the motion?
Well, there should
No,
be.
it's just like a new, little bit of a nuance to make sure.
Yeah, I was assuming as discussed tonight included the amendments, but I'm happy with changing my motion to,
Wait a minute, you
include
sent me
the
a draft motion. I thought I included. Let me pull up your
Or
draft motion.
we
to
can
make
just
sure
read
that
it. I
I
mean,
didn't-
if we just say we're gonna approve
It should be mentioned.
approve the draft.
Second.
that is what
We're
it's,
gonna-
it is.
The last motion on there, is that not what you wanted?
Yeah,
If it's not,
I think those
Okay.
amendments were important.
David, you can just amend it to say
I
the
think
second
those were
draft
important.
and list of amendments. And we'll be good.
Yeah, so I would amend that to also include the list of other amendments.
And the second draft.
Yeah.
There's two elements.
Draft
We just want
list of
to, we
amendments.
just want to state,
Okay. So
That would be good.
I move to direct the planning commission to enact the changes, to the 2026 town plan second draft as discussed tonight, also including
Enclosed already.
the amendments
Acceptable.
The second one is switched now.
for the,
Okay, so we are.
for the January 21st second public hearing.
got it.
Okay, I think you need to not, you're saying changes to the second draft. We need to just approve the second draft.
Correct, as a standalone.
And then we need to approve the changes, which are there.
The only changes are to install the amendments. That's the
So-
only.
Well, obviously not.
So we're gonna, who's,
Somebody else make the motion, because I'm.
This is Caitlin. I move to direct the planning commission to enact the changes
nope.
/ amendments to the 2026 plan as discussed tonight and approve the second draft of the town plan for the January 1st, second public hearing.
21st.
And the amendment.
January 21st, second public hearing.
Got it.
Does that work?
That covers.
Okay. I thought I took your
Do we have a
motion
second?
for word.
I'll
I'm sorry.
second.
No, I may not.
Motion in a second.
Okay.
Sorry, writing down who did it. It's a long list.
Sorry, so tired and
I
hungry.
kept crossing it out and rereading who is making the motion. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Bart, aye. Greg,
Aye.
David, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, aye.
Okay, no, I looked back.
Thank you.
It was your wording exactly, but I think you covered it.
Great.
Thank you.
I don't know beautifully with the right word.
After all of that other stuff, that
Yeah,
looked beautiful.
We'll have this document that goes now to the full draft. The day after tomorrow, probably, because we have to warn that document for your 21st
Okay.
hearing, which is a big.
So we are not anticipating a third draft plus amendments at this next meeting. We will be
The
just a
third draft will be the second draft plus the amendment.
But there will not be any further amendments.
No,
Okay.
we have closed the public comments period. There will be no,
Perfect.
there will be nothing. It will just be the third draft that you will then look at, which is what we've looked at tonight.
Minus, it'll just be all the same color.
It will be what?
All the same color, no red lines.
Yeah.
Great.
Like in law.
All right.
No red.
Thank you.
stripes.
Thank you for all your work on that.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, thanks to everybody. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, really. Next we have consideration of approving an updated agreement with Green Mountain Transit for the older adults and persons with disabilities transportation program.
All right, how to summarize this? So we talked about this back in August. There was gonna be a reduction, there was a reduction in funding for this program, which meant that they were gonna try to reduce services and then reduce the match from each town. In the budget, we have $3,500. The select board voted to keep our services the same, which is 1 round trip per week in any category other than social personal, and 2 round trips per month in social personal, but increase our match to $8,650. As we've gone through the last few months with this transportation program, they've noticed that every single agency in town that participates is exceeding their budget by quite a bit. So what they're going to do is reduce the trips by removing social, personal, and work trips. And they also got some additional funding from V-Trans. So they think by doing that, they'll kind of keep the agencies a little bit more on budget. So their projection for if they do make those changes, the total match amount from Richmond would be $5,438, which is below what was authorized by the select board, but it is exceeding their budget. So they sent out an updated agreement which has the increased funding and the increased match amount from Richmond, which hopefully would get us through the end of this fiscal year, which is the end of June. So that's sort of the first order of business for the board is, do you want to approve that? And we looked at the social, personal, and work trips as far as their use here in Richmond. And they were able to get me data for the first, it looks like 3 months, or I guess first 4 months of that. The total for social work and personal trips in those 4 months was about $5,000. So if we decided to fund just social, personal work trips, it would be, sorry, I'm losing myself a little bit. Sorry, I guess oh yeah, so if we extrapolate that out to another 6 months at 100% funding, it would be about $7,500 if we wanted to pay for that at 100%, but we wouldn't get any grant money matching on that. However, the work trips accounted for about 65% of that. So if you wanted to just extend social, personal, the estimated cost would be about $2,600 for just social, personal work trips if they continued at the same rate that they were in the first part of the year.
So to be clear, the numbers again. So our budgeted amount in our budget is 3,500.
Yep.
This was in like October or something. We voted to overspend that line item to 8,650.
Right.
They have come back and said that they got some grant funding to reduce that, but they said we're going to be over budget of an arbitrary amount that they put on as a budget.
Yeah, so
if we were to fully fund everything for the rest of the year, we would still be under the 8,650.
Sorry, no. So if we agree to their reductions, because basically they look at this as a program wide, and they okay, how do we keep the grant money and the match kind of viable to the end of the year? So they said if we reduced all social, personal, and work trips and increased this additional grant money, then that kind of gets us to the finish line at the end of the year. As their agency, as individual municipalities, we're all able to sort of get there with that. And then that would cost us $5,500, basically.
Above and beyond the 8,650?
No, that looks to be the total amount that we would then spend for the rest of the year.
So the
total match that we would have for the whole year is about $5,500. Right now, we had budgeted $3,500, but the board had said, okay, we know there's reduced funding, we'll go up to $8,650. So it looks like we have about $3,000. We would basically be $3,000 under what you approved in August if we just agreed to everything they said and reduced the social, personal, and work trips. I'm sorry, this is so confusing.
Yeah, so if we chose to just fund everything 100%,
it would be an additional $7,500 on top of the $5,400 that they're projecting.
Oh, okay.
It would be like
gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So I'm looking at it like 7,487 is still less than 8,650.
No, that's
Gotcha.
87 is if we say
We're talking-
we make no changes to social, personal, and work. That would be additional.
Ballpark $1,250 or somewhere.
It would be about 12,500, right?
12,500. Yeah.
That works out to about $1,000 per user.
But it appears it's not. That's an average. It doesn't reflect it. So if one person was using the work trips and 65% of the total cost is one person?
That is accurate.
65% of the which figure?
Of the 7,400 to 7,500.
So we're spending like over $4,000 a year on work transportation
For one person.
for one person.
I think that the reason that the Regional Transit Authority was saying they could shift some of those, there's another pot of money that the work-related trips should be drawn from, right?
There are some other programs out there that work-related trips could go to. I'm not exactly familiar with who would qualify for that and if our one person would be able to get into those programs, but they were reaching out to people with social, personal, and work trips to tell them that they can no longer use them through this program And here's some other potential agencies they can look at.
I'll just observe there's, pending significant reductions in publicly funded transportation, including standard bus lines.
Yeah.
Both fixed and variable. And then for apparently the first time, SSTA, this kind of transportation is poised for significant reductions.
Aaron, go ahead.
Hey, I just wanted to clarify, is this an elimination of social and work trips, or is it just a reduction? And if those things are gone, what's the only thing that's left? Is it just medical trips?
Yeah, so the way that the SSTA or Green Mountain Transit is going to do this is they're eliminating social, personal, and work trips. So what's left really is medical and shopping trips.
And we've done that before in this town.
We have?
Yes.
Okay. Before my time, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, perhaps.
For the same reasons that we were headed towards significant overspending.
Yep.
When Jeff or Bennett was here.
I'd sincerely like to at least explore the possibility of alternative sources of fundings for that one resident who needs our help. But I don't know. I mean, that could be a separate task, separate and apart from how we resolve this relationship with the GMA or GMT.
I think
SFTA.
both can be true, right? That the work and social trips can be a lifeline for someone who is isolated and doesn't have transportation, and also it's probably not sustainable for us to be funding that at that level year over year, especially if funding is going to decrease from this specific program. So if we can offset that cost to a different program or gain more funding in some way.
Yeah, I want to advocate for them to the best of our ability, but I think Bart's right. The trend line is not good for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, my understanding is that Green Mountain Transit is trying to work with people to find other alternatives as well, because there are a few other programs, and I'm not an expert in any of them, but Green Mountain Transit would be.
That's in the weeds. I gotta tell you, I don't think any of us are ever going to be an expert on the sources of funding for transportation. And yet there are those people in the world. They're just not in the room at the moment.
Agreed.
Yep.
Well, I thought SSTA, GMT were on, they would be the resource to turn to and say, okay, well, what are these alternative programs? Can we as a town play a role in that or facilitate getting this one citizen help?
Historically, places like VCIL and AgeWell helped people on an individual basis negotiate, that's disabilities and older people.
Yeah.
United Way had at some point United We Ride, which is volunteer drivers. There are some volunteer drivers that have done this kind of transportation for a stipend. It's basically mileage, as opposed to, I don't know what the cost per mile is for an SSTA van, but it's expensive.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's got complex mobility aids or whatever, they need that special vehicle. I'm inclined to try to keep our contributions within the 8650. However we want to split that out.
Yeah, I'm inclined to accept the agreement as proposed, and I mean, I'm more than happy to talk to the 7 people that were using this and find some alternative solutions if there's resources needed there. The updated agreement would be removing the work trip, which is 1 person, right? And then removing the
social
personal, which is 6.
And this would be through the end of June.
Yes.
The fiscal year, yeah.
New agreement for next year, with probably similar funding challenges. I imagine it seems to be a trend in transportation.
Yeah. So I guess we would need a motion to approve the updated agreement, it doesn't sound like, like Bart pointed out, I don't think any of us are gonna fix the transportation issue for this one individual or the other people. How do we go? I guess we would need a motion to approve the updated agreement, and then is there, who will be our contact to reach out? I mean, I defer everything to you, Josh, to reach out to SSTA or GMT, but
Yeah, I mean, I've got a contact. It's been.
is there anything,
So I could,
is us advocating for that going to help? It can't hurt, I assume,
it
but
could, yeah, I mean, I could express them that we accept the new contract and we'd like them to reach out to the riders that we have to help them find alternative means of transportation. And we can report back to you at the next meeting and let you know what they say.
okay.
On that basis, I move to approve the updated agreement with Green Mountain Transit for the older adults and persons with disabilities transportation program.
This is Caitlin, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aren't I? Greg, aye.
David, I.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, I.
Just another comment. I think moving forward, if we're asking GMT to reach out to these folks, we might invite them also to these folks to reach out to us. directly.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but I don't have any answers for them.
no, I just,
No.
you know,
Oh, like,
I'm thinking like we've heard numerous times from folks at Southview, you know, like you didn't tell us. And this is where it's us doing it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I don't want to I don't want to leave people high and dry. These people
Don't want
have
to throw
enough
them under
deal
the
with.
bus.
It does raise the question just for discussion, if we want to talk about the second motion to move to continue to fund. I mean, in general, if I were going to make a motion of that nature, it would be that we would allocate the remainder of the previously allocated $8,700 to best effect or something like that. But I don't know, I'd like some discussion on that, I think.
Yeah, how does that work with how they manage it, Josh? Can we just give them a lump sum of money? I mean, there's obviously a big difference between 5,000 and the 8,650. And I think we'd all, I mean, it wasn't even on my radar that we would get, $4 grand back, $3 grand back. So
yeah, and again, I mean, these are also estimates, right? So like it could go, depending on actual usage, could go up or down, sort of based on the first
Yeah.
months.
so maybe we use that as a contingency to ensure that medical trips.
Well, the medical is still going to be covered, right? It's
Yeah, that's what we're gonna,
yeah,
Medical and shopping.
medical shopping, yeah.
but there is a chance we could cost overrun that, whatever it would be, 49.91, and we'd be eating into, we're not gonna overrun enough to make it to the 8,650, but we might get over the 49.91. Does that make sense?
49.91. Right.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that was the total cost for 4 months. So looking at that would be about 7,500. So if you looked at social personal, the estimate based on the first 4 months of usage would be about $1,700 sort of going forward.
Okay.
Oh,
right.
So if you wanted to say, we still want to do social personal at 2 round trips per month and not to exceed $1,700. I could communicate that back to SSTA and see if they can keep track of that for us, or at least they could maybe bill us separately so we could keep track of it. Because they could bill us for everything covered by the grant and then that separately, that might help us keep track from January on.
If they're able to do that.
If they're able to, and I mean, if we have the accounting
Yeah,
stuff in place to keep track of that all,
a couple spreadsheets going. So I
just a
think,
couple. Do
well, one on this one, but this isn't that hard of a program to track.
you have a spreadsheet for your spreadsheets?
Of course.
Yeah.
How else would I know what my spreadsheets have? So yeah, I think if you wanted to put a cap at that, we can kind of monitor that as we go forward here.
Do we need to make a motion to that effect?
Like that, so that
I
would
think
be.
we should, so it's in.
This is Caitlin. I move to continue to fund the social/personal trips at a rate of 2 round trips per month at 100% funding from the town, not to exceed $1,720. Was that what?
Wow.
And 77 cents. Yeah.
So 1720.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't get us to the 8650 then.
No, but
Gets us closer and then we can.
and the
we
work
can
trip is a bit challenging. I mean, that was gonna be a lot more money.
Okay.
But I think that helps, that at least helps the social personal folks out.
Yeah.
We'll ask GMT about work and if they can reach out to that person with some alternatives. And we'll keep
Sounds
an
good.
eye on social personal as we see you here in the next few months.
This is David, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Art, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, I.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, aye. Great. Next, we have consideration of accepting easements for Tilden Ave, Bridge Street, Cochran Road, and Cochran Road waterline replacement project.
Overview of this.
Yeah, sorry, it threw me for a loop that we're talking about Tilden and Cochran on the same waterline replacement.
Yeah.
Separate that.
So
It's
this,
not one project, it's
it is.
two projects in
Well, it's
You scope to the same
one-
project.
It's one contractor?
It's one project on separate lines.
separate portions of the line.
Yes.
Yeah, basically. So this is,
Guess my definition of a project and yours are different.
Well, the
I would call
connecting
that a-
section
I would
is
call that
already
a
done.
Program.
yeah, so we've
Be a project.
water line improvement projects over the years.
Yeah.
We did Bridge Street in two separate projects where I think we did like the upper portion and then we did the middle portion and over the bridge and under
Sure.
the bridge. So this is actually to complete that sort of from the, right by the GHBC intersection through that area up top around, over to Cochran Road, out towards the end of Cochran Road. But there's also a section up on Tilden Ave that also needs to be replaced. So these are going to be combined together into one project and bid out. So part of this is we need to make sure that all the work is done within the right of way. Looking at these roads, a lot of them are 2 rods wide. And when this system was put in 50 plus years ago, here's your curb stop, whether it was in the right of way or not, they didn't really notice. So part of the funding from DWSRF is you have to certify everything's in the right of way or we have easements for it. So there are about 22 easements we need for curb stops that are located out of the right of way currently. So that we're going to keep them in the same spot. We'll give them a new curb stop off of the new line, but we need to have easements for those. So we've got, I think, 19 of the 22 easements signed. We're really close to the last 3. We'll probably be back in the next meeting for that. But the select board has to accept those easements for this water line project to move forward.
Draft motion says 18, but you're,
Oh, sorry, yes, because I got one more at the end, so it should be 19. I updated the text, but not the motion. So 19 are in the packet.
Adam, this is David. I move to accept the 19 easements for Tilden Avenue, Bridge Street, and Cochran Road water line replacement project as presented.
Bart, I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, I.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, aye. Is there any reason to expect the other 3 easements won't be forthcoming?
I think that we'll probably should get one of them this week. One of them is just a signature issue, and the other one is we had to agree to some things on that one. That one's more than a curb stop. It's actually, we have to locate part of the pipe out of the right of way because there's a lot of congestion in the right of way with sewer and gas and other things. So we made an agreement with them that we're going to give them a water and sewer hookup for that property right there. So once we get that in writing, we'll get that easement. So we should have
So
that in the next.
they're agreeable to the terms that have been discussed. We
Yes.
just need to put it on paper.
Exactly.
Okay, so there's nothing adversarial going on.
Nope,
Okay.
It just took a minute.
Yeah, it just took some time,
Great.
but I anticipate.
You want to publicly shame that person for?
No, they've been great. They've actually they've been really great.
This isn't like the ethics thing?
No, they had some legitimate concerns because it was a bit more than just a curb stop.
That's a different thing.
And we had a really great conversation with them and I think we came to a really good agreement.
Great. And so all these are going to happen in a time frame that you think is acceptable for going out to bid and all that?
Yeah, so we talked with the commission this afternoon or this evening about going out to bid. So we're gonna actually go out to bid probably as soon as we can, knowing that we still have a couple of easements to get, but we'll get those easements and the associated paperwork with them by the time we go to construction, which wouldn't be till May at the earliest anyway. So we'll get the bid process moving right now, which is the proper time to get it going for a summer project.
Sounds good. Next, we have discussion of a hiring process for a finance director and consideration of a select board member participating on a hiring committee. I think, yeah, give us a synopsis here.
So as we talked about a little bit in passing in some of the meetings, Finance Director Connie Bono will be retiring. Her last day she's looking to retire on is May 31st. So, being a department head position, it's obviously the purview of the town manager to hire this position, but I'd like to have a bit of a committee set up and a process to go through to hire the position. So my goal is to get the job description updated and posted by the end of January, accept resumes to the end of February, review resumes through the end of March, and make an offer by the end of March with a start date no later than May 1st. I've asked Town Treasurer Jim Feinstein to be on a hiring committee with me. He's agreed to that. Connie said she'd also help out with the hiring since she's so intimately knowledgeable about the job. And I would like to have one select board member on that committee as well.
Are you sick of me not responding to your emails?
I wasn't publicly shaming anybody today.
I would be happy to participate in that as long as you don't mind continuing to text me when I don't answer.
As long as you don't mind me continuing to text you, I'm fine with that.
I think I'm all
No,
caught up after tomorrow.
Josh and I talked very briefly about this when we were talking about the other stuff. Since this is a pretty specific skill set and a pretty unique employer relative to other finance directors, and our pay, realistically, our pay is probably not going to be competitive with a corporate finance. Do we think it would make sense to hire a recruiter or a headhunter to help us track someone down that's actually a good fit for this? I mean, kind of worries me that we might not get someone, or we might get stuck with like one applicant. Not that they might not be great, but it'd be good to have up our odds, and also to have the likelihood that someone sticks around. I think if we just put it out there, we might be viewed as more of a stepping stone, which isn't entirely bad, but I don't know. Those are my concerns.
What are the headhunting fees like these days?
Talked to two people that I've worked with on other stuff. Well, I haven't actually, because I'm a contractor. My wife has. One of them I kind of worked with a long time ago. It's between like 10 and 12% of the annual salary, and it's a one-time. It would be a one-time fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the annual salary is like 80 to 107 range.
Yeah.
That was gonna be my question.
It's like it's like $8,000 to $10,000.
Yeah.
Give or take.
What's involved in being a finance director?
That's not I mean, honestly, that's not a huge, if we have to change this job over in 3 years versus 6, we will have paid for that.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
This, so
Yes.
I mean, I think we're looking at this similar to how we were looking at the police department recently, where we keep hiring people for cheap, and then we have turnover. We train them for them to move on to bigger and better things. I mean, if we can spend more and get someone who wants to stick around, I don't know. I don't, I'm not set on it, but
Do we put that into a head under though, or just like then do we discuss putting it in the salary? I have not had good experience with recruiting headhunter situations. I think like it helps sort through resumes and such, but you're still going to reach similar people, and if you reach someone that's like for this level position, I don't know.
we're not going to reload someone or anything, so that's tricky.
Yeah.
Not in our cards to do
It's
that.
gonna be someone that's local, so like
I guess my concern is
word
we
of
just only reach out to like somehow we only get in touch with other municipalities and stuff. And I think there's like we're not going to compete.
Shallow
with, like,
pool.
a finance manager or director at a local, company, but we might like a more corporate company, but we might be really competitive with like a local construction company that has a lot of bookkeeping knowledge and a lot of like complex finance and stuff going on. So I don't know how we ensure that we reach out to that subset more, as opposed to just like other people who also work. Josh and I talked about, there might be there's probably like half a dozen people in the state who are like junior finance people in municipalities that would be eager to take over an entire town, and that's a very small group of people.
Yeah.
And it's and it's just like,
But you might get somebody later in career who, is looking to
hopefully
slow
get
down.
lucky. I'm just not
But it's more than a bookkeeping. I mean, they have
a lot more.
They have to understand the tax law, and
That's true.
Are we stuck though if we don't find someone in the first round that we really love? Like,
Yeah, that's true.
What's the risk?
Well,
give it a shot.
We don't have anybody. Connie did say that if we didn't find anybody, she would consider staying a little later if need be. She would prefer not to. But she would, if we went through a round, I mean, so I guess we could look at this and say, if we put up, we're out for resumes in February and we don't get anything we like, then we can just
Yeah.
quickly hire a headhunter and then go from there. And hope Connie is willing to stay through a couple more months.
Yeah.
And this has to be local,
What has to be local?
the role, like the person has to be local.
It has to be like living here.
Oh, they'd have to be,
Well, I think they'd have to be here. They couldn't work. They could do some work remotely, but I think they would have to be in the office for certain amounts of the work.
So we could use that to ease the commute if someone was commuting.
Yeah.
A longer distance, but we couldn't, it's not gonna be a fully remote job.
I don't think it
But
could.
we don't have an ordinance that says they have to live in Richmond.
We don't, but I think there's enough stuff in the job as far as like reviewing bank account statements, going through a lot of paperwork and like check postings that being in person kind of I need to be. But yeah, I think that this job realistically could a day or two a week be remote if it needed to be. That's fair. I mean,
That might be attractive to somebody.
yeah,
Yeah.
And that probably widens our radius too, because 3 days of commuting is.
yeah.
I've used ZipRecruiter before and I found it really frustrating.
Mhm.
I got a lot of resumes from far away countries.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like other side of the globe.
Okay.
I think it has to do with that salary offering. You post the lower end of your range, you're probably not going to get a lot of great candidates.
Well, I think the law is you have to post a range now for all municipal, so I'll probably just take the start to the end and put it in there in the posting.
No, I mean, it's fine to have the brackets, but if you just try to see what you could get for 80 grand a year, you might.
I hear you. Yeah, no, but actually the law for municipalities has changed where you have to post the range. You can't just post one number anymore.
Yeah.
So so good point, and we will address that. My thought was we had okay luck with Indeed. Sometimes you get a lot of like garbage resumes, but a few in there that are okay. 7 days, I think, is going to be a decent one locally.
Yeah.
VLCT has a job posting board that we'll use. Maybe I'll do something similar in New Hampshire because somebody might be willing to move to Vermont from New Hampshire. It's not that far away. And then Connie's got a few ideas of sort of some folks to reach out to directly for some word of mouth or people who might actually be interested in it that she's worked with sort of in other municipalities. So I think that there's some direct marketing we can do as well.
Just for perspective, I'm looking up comparable state positions and it's pretty complicated in state because financial services directors, like a finance director, they either have a small group or a really large group. But the pay range starts at like $37 an hour for the lower end. And after like 25 years, you could be making $70 an hour. For the largest organization.
So that's 140 grand a year then.
But that's a person who's like, they got like Department of Corrections, 1,400 employees and like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The average department, like some of the thing like this would be the lower end of both the pay grade and the starting level. So that's just one perspective, somewhere around $37 an hour.
There's a LinkedIn Recruiter Lite that costs $170 per month for a single license. I feel like we should see what kind of resumes we get in.
Yeah.
We have some resources to be able to like
Have something to fall back on if we don't get anything that's gonna work.
Yeah. So that also means starting sooner rather than later. So we have
time to do that.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Next, we have a consideration of making an appointment to fill the vacant seat on the Water and Sewer Commission that is reserved for a select board member.
Oh, no.
I was going to say the consideration of appointing Greg to the Water and Sewer, but I thought that was. I mean, do you have any interest in doing that, Greg? I mean, with the.
He was staying up all night last night, just looking forward to taking this responsibility on.
I attended the Water Sewer Commission meeting this evening.
Welcome to the board.
He could hardly sit in his seat. It's like,
yeah, I could be strong-armed into that, I guess.
Consider it done.
Is this the thing we want to strong arm him into? Because he's going to learn his lesson sooner rather than later, and then we don't want to.
Yes.
We don't want to waste it on something.
This is the thing.
This is the thing.
This is it. And only to say that I don't have the time to.
Yeah, I'm kind of back to that too.
I will say this is a 1-year term, so.
I think
actually it's less than that, isn't it?
12 months to.
It's a 1-year term, but it would be reappointed probably in early June after the Water Sewer annual
Yeah,
meeting.
so
reorganize. So there's a chance you could get out of this by June.
Need a 6-month commitment.
A small chance.
Matt Moultrie is looking for something to do.
Well, so this one has to be a select board.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way it's structured is there's 3 seats that are reserved for select board members, and there's 2 seats that are reserved for customers of the system.
But that could change after town meeting day.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
And you've heard some of the interesting things literally
Someone like
about
to make a
rate
motion
setting,
before?
what's the rate
Yes.
structure gonna look like,
There you go.
the new upgrade, the question of.
I'm very interested in that, and that's why I'm willing to do it, is because I think
This
that's.
Caitlin, I moved to, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I moved to appoint Greg. I'm sorry, what's your last name? Rabideau. To the, to fill the vacancy on the water and sewer. That is reserved for a select board member.
Is Bart, I'll second it.
Mr. Word.
All those in favor? Greg, you can abstain if you like.
I'll abstain.
David, I.
Caitlin, I.
Adam, aye. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Welcome aboard.
I'm so sorry. I mean, congratulations.
Smirked.
Next we have a review of the draft town meeting warning.
I think it stayed pretty similar to what you guys have seen. I added the advisory discussion about the 4th of July fireworks. That has gone back and forth from a ballot item to advisory, so it's advisory because it's in the town budget. Then we've got the town budget, which we'll finalize hopefully tomorrow. We'll be able to fill that in for the next meeting. The town plan approval, conservation funding at 1 cent on the tax rate. Then we've got, I think, 9 articles about appropriations. And we've also got some special notes. We set up 2 informational meetings, one on Saturday, February 7th at 10 a.m. and one on Monday, February 23rd at 7 p.m. These would be to review the budget and all ballot items, and these would be a special select board meeting.
Adam, I'll just point out, we got some email questioning about the requests for funding that are reflected in a bunch of these articles. And I took the time this afternoon to skim through the submissions again.
Thank you.
And without getting picky, like if I use pass fail, they all passed. There were some typos, a couple of them.
Broadly, all the information was filled in if it was.
And it probably wasn't great. I'll also observe though, in terms of our history, if you go back like 15, 20 years, it was just embedded in the budget. And
for about 3 years, so it was in the budget.
but well, then we at least had a form. I think the form policy started in 2014.
Yeah.
But before that, people would just ask, I want $500 for something. And it was not very structured from what I could see. So anyway, it's more structured than it used to be, and going out to the voters individually is far more transparent and accountable than what we did before.
And we did post those all to a previous budget meeting
Yes.
in October, and I'll build out a town meeting page again that will have all those posted again for all that are on the ballot, all that are in the budget, as well as all the budgetary information we've done the past few town meetings.
And there was, if I remember correctly, we only rejected one request because it missed the deadline.
I think it was maybe 2 in that boat, but yeah, it was
Yeah.
just, and it was only because they missed the deadline, yes. So.
Great.
I mean, I think that's a good faith effort to make sure everything's complying. I don't think spell check or whatever is within our purview on that. Great. Next, we have an update on Josh's and everyone's research to explore replacing the current electrical vehicle equipment stations with 2 level 3 charging stations.
Yeah, so after the comments at the last meeting, I reached out to Ann Janda from CCRPC. She helped us with the grant at the last one. So she's done a little bit of research. She said there might be some new grants coming out. I don't think there's anything currently. She did advise that these can be between $50,000 and $200,000 for level 3 charging stations. And just to give you some scope, the one that we have out there right now is a station with 2 ports. It was $20,000. But she said it's worth looking into some stuff with V-Trans, and there might be some NEVI funding, which I'm not 100% sure what that is. But I've got a meeting set up with her and some representatives from Green Mountain Power to explore this a little bit more on Friday.
You want to join that Friday?
You want to join?
Who's your contact agreement?
I had no idea.
I don't even know.
They were.
And set it up.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I think the local rep I went to.
That's breathtaking.
Okay, if you want me to, I'll send you. It's gonna be an online meeting.
Oh, you guys aren't walking around the site?
No, this is very like, what's out there? What can we maybe get? What do you have? It's very high.
Oh, this isn't like, hey, can we get power from there to there? Can we make it all work?
No, this is.
Don't we have to have like a certain amount of
You do.
spots and we gotta have power? We have the power available. We'd have to get like a pipe through they have to get conduit over there, which would be a different conduit.
Over to where?
Put the actual chargers.
Which would be just replacing these, right?
Yeah.
So there's conduit there right now.
We have to put conduit in though, because it's not gonna be the same.
It would be
size. Yeah.
3 phase, right?
I know that I advocated for looking into this. I thank you for doing it. I would say the prices alone are, you know,
If we could fully fund it, it would be great.
The new gas station, the barn, has nice chargers, a number of them. I think if this was going to happen at the scale it needs to happen, it probably ought to be at the park and ride, which may be more of a state issue.
Yeah.
And I think we just be watchful for opportunities to jump on a grant or something.
I mean, if these need to be shovel ready, does it make sense for us to at least get the design done and then be ready to go? I mean, imagine a lot of the grants are. Or do we want to not do it here? If we're going to go through all this planning, like Greg pointed out, there's probably better places in town to do these chargers at too, right? So,
in my career, I did a lot of hotels, and the way the hotels did it was that some third-party company came and got a postage stamp easement on their parking lot to put that equipment in, and they collected all the quarters. That's kind of what I was hoping for. I mean, if we were going to do that here, is to just say, well, we'll make a couple of our parking spaces available if you want to do it. But yeah, I think that the voters of the town would strangle us if we spent $200K on something like that.
Well, how many of the people using these chargers are at the destination when they're charging? I mean, if people are going to Richmond.
Yeah, if we're putting a level 3 charger, I mean, we're kind of fundamentally changing the use scenario of that from like I come to the town center and walk around for hours to I pop in and charge for 20 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So are these grants, when we say there might be some funding, is that talking about there might be some funding to fully fund chargers? Okay.
It's in very preliminary emails touching on the land, and the meeting on Friday was to sort of get a better idea of what might be out there for funding. So I think I'll take the meeting.
I guess.
And we'll see if there's something that's 100%.
Yeah.
Maybe we look at it. Right?
Like
I think anything less than 100% would be.
Even like 90%, maybe we have a hard conversation. I think if it's a 50-50 match, like
I charge at home with just the plug that came with the car, and I just plug it in a regular outlet.
Yeah.
But it's plugged in whenever it's all, and that works fine for most of my needs.
Yeah, this location is kind of an odd spot to have like a mid-trip level 3 charger at too. So
it certainly makes much more sense to have it out by the highway where people can pop off, get that done real quick, and then
even on Route 2 would be.
Well, I think the point of these was people could come in, get their hair cut, go to Sweet Simone's, go to the park, attend a select board meeting, and plug in while they're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good that we have it, especially since we own a Tesla too, right? I mean,
we did.
We sold Tesla.
Okay. Enough said. But
charger too.
Yeah, I think it would be worth sort of digging in over time to see if we can't get something going out at the park and ride. I think that'd be a better location. Because we could easily give up 4 or 5 spaces there and people would use them, I think.
Yeah. When you take the meeting with CCRPC, you should ask about that. What would it take to get V-Trans to address it there? Because there is so much traffic there.
I have seen charging stations at park and rides.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Someone pointed out, I won't name them because it's incriminating, but they pointed out that if we were to put chargers at Stone Corral, they would probably get the most use. People spend more time there, which is kind of,
My car would be so charged up.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I don't know. I won't say your name in the meeting, so.
Getting a buzz while your car's getting buzzed?
Exactly. So do you still want to attend the meeting or?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
somehow the barn did it like as a private business. So in theory,
Conditional on the,
They
Oh,
they
that's
baked it
right.
into the cost of the construction because they had to put it in for the permit.
yeah.
They don't charge, their fee is like nothing on that thing though.
Really?
It's pretty cheap, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's because
it's not
you're gonna go in there and spend $12 getting chicken.
Exactly.
I love that chicken.
It just seems if these really are $50,000 to $200,000, they put a lot of money.
yeah.
Oh,
into
yeah.
that.
well, the fee can also be small because like the actual amount of energy they're pumping into cars, if people are actually using it, like they're charging it like, some of those are charging like 150 or 200 kW versus like 10 or 11. So it's like
Right.
your fee per power doesn't have to be per energy doesn't have to be high because you can pump so much out.
And maybe they are, I'm sure they've got it figured out. Do some
All right.
aggressive financing.
Yeah.
Keep the
Cool.
meeting, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
If nothing else, we learned that we can't afford one.
Right.
Next we have consideration of holding the second January select board meeting on a Tuesday, January 20th, due to Martin Luther King holiday on Monday, January 19th.
Adam and Sparta move to hold the second January select board meeting on Tuesday, January 20th, 2026, due to the MLK holiday on Monday, January 19th, 2026.
Adam, this is David. I'll second.
All those in
Bart, aye.
favor?
Greg, I.
David, I.
Adam, aye. Looks like you'll do it in the slower voice just to drive you nuts, Bard. I guess we have minutes to approve, right? So-
Adam, this is David. I move to approve the minutes of the December 15th meeting.
Is Bart, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Barley.
Greg, I.
David, I.
Caitlin abstain.
Adam, aye. We have a purchase order? We do with one, right?
For the door.
Oh, nice.
There must be more to it than a door.
No comment.
No.
2 glass doors with
Technically 4 doors.
4 doors
4 doors.
with the electric openers. We did put it out to bid. This wasn't the lowest.
Wasn't the
but
lowest, but
This
it
was the best qualified.
it wasn't much more and it was, yeah.
Yeah.
4
Yeah.
doors, automatic or, ADA openers.
Access control.
Security equipment.
What else?
Yes.
Yeah, access.
Yeah, it was integrating the access control
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay.
There were some additional fees.
So there was a lot to it. It is also very expensive.
Yeah.
Yes.
I gotta get in the door business.
Purchase order number 5360 to Acme Glass for the door replacement at the town center in the amount of $30,907.
This is David. I'll second.
Bart, aye.
All those.
Greg, I.
David, I.
Adam, aye. Were they able to get that all that stuff finally coordinated and put in?
Yeah, so we got the electrician, we got the door control person, so everything's working better. And now as soon as we get the keyless entry system put in,
It's all ready for that.
it's ready to go. So now Duncan's scheduling the keyless entry person to do that door and all the other doors in the town center. So
Great.
moving forward.
Warrants.
Can I ask a question about the warrants?
Yeah.
And there's a long series of charges to the Bank of Omaha.
Uh-huh.
That's just end of year bonus kind of Christmas gifts, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
For
yeah.
our employees.
A lot of it was, so that's the credit card. We try not to use the credit card as much as we can, but that was a lot of going to Sweet Simone's and buying gift cards, and everybody gets a $25 gift card at the end of the year.
Yeah, so when I saw Sweet Simone's employee appreciation, it's our employees.
Yes.
We saw that last year too. We had the similar conversation last year in my first year. I was like, this is we appreciating the employees I think it was at Stone's Throw, and like, no, it's the opposite. We bought Stone's Throw for our employees.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
They deserved our thanks, no doubt.
And we had a nice little gathering over at Stone's Throw a couple Fridays ago, and they did a great job giving us or selling us pizzas, and we had a good turnout from the staff that day too.
Didn't sell them to you, they gave them to you and you gave them money.
Yes, that's how it worked. We made a trade.
Great.
That said, I move to approve the warrants.
This is David. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Bart, I.
Greg, I.
David, I.
Caitlin, aye.
Adam, aye. Next, our last item, we have a an executive session.
Do you want to talk about next agenda at all?
Oh, if you want to do that, yeah.
Put that in a memo.
Sorry. Do you want to do, we want to do the agenda before we do the executive session so that on the off chance anyone online wants to pitch in? Oh, yeah, so you can leave.
I think we got a couple things from this agenda to pull forward.
So we're-
Get on Southview.
Before you leave.
You want to talk about, I don't know if you've seen the email from the superintendent of schools, he wants to talk
Yeah.
about budgeting.
Let's do that. Do we want to invite him in for a meeting? Yeah.
I think it could hurt.
I had to get my other stuff, so I was shooting for coordinating with him at a time.
We could do that, if you want to do that.
Do that.
I mean, you're
I'm all set this week and next week, and then I'm no longer free during the day.
So,
All right,
thanks.
I also have to work on the 19th.
so let's see if we.
Oh, thanks.
So, I don't know, nobody's listening, right?
Yeah, so
I'm listening.
So we have the superintendent, school superintendent wanted to meet and kind of, I don't know, coordinate, but just discuss school versus town budgets and the implications of that going forward. He was going to come to our January 20th meeting.
That's what he said, yes.
Tentatively. Bard looks very skeptical or shocked. I can't tell.
Well, that, it's just intriguing to me because this could have been an issue for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
I'm just
I mean,
pondering.
they have
why it
a
comes
new
up now.
superintendent this year.
Yeah.
So that might be driving it.
That makes sense.
I think he's just trying to reach out, because I think his email was like, yeah, we all pull from the same tax base, we all have our budget challenges. So I think he just wanted to maybe sort of open up communication with the local.
Yeah.
So
Anyone opposed to that?
No,
No, it makes sense.
I mean, am I wrong in interpreting the data to say that the school budget is 3/4 of all taxes collected in Richmond?
2/3,
we have-
3/4.
I actually have a chart that I'll show tomorrow night that shows just that.
Yeah,
You're about right.
About 70%,
Yeah,
right?
you're about.
65-70%.
and I think it's the sort of double-digit increases that are
Year after year after
that are
year.
rarely get.
And they always
you know.
pass.
We love our schools. I mean, they're great schools. Yeah, I'm hearing some people get salty,
It is a conundrum because everyone loves the schools and no one wants to vote against the kids, but ultimately double-digit increase year over year over year. At some point,
Not
something's
It's
going to happen.
demonstrably fewer kids every year.
Yeah.
And, but I gotta say, one of the drivers is also demonstrably health
Healthcare,
insurance.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you're trying to shame me, you're not going to shame me into having another kid. There's no effing way.
No, we want.
The other thing we talked about, are everyone okay if Josh and I meet with him ahead of time and just kind of feel out and chat with him about it?
Well,
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Please do.
We'll
Yep.
try to not do it without a quorum, but so we can make it productive.
Cool.
Anything else?
I'll note to the board that I passed my ethics training.
Yay.
Perfect.
So that we can have 100% participation rate.
Is it your second or third try that it took to pass?
Right through it, man. First time.
Yeah.
I'm on one of Duncan's lists, so I'm not currently, I don't know which one. I've done one, but not the other.
So select board's at 80%.
It's pretty, I mean,
Josh isn't surprised by the way I answer emails. So.
there are engineers with
Kinda like our
worse grades than that, designing things that
Super stuff.
can kill you, so.
New job in December,
Mhm.
top of all regular December stuff.
Fill out now.
Definitely gets
My
busy.
kids are back in school and I have a new job.
There you go.
We got, you want to update on that charging station deal, so we can put that to bed or keep
Sure.
exploring it?
There was a comment at the beginning of the meeting around the attorney. Do we want to take any time to discuss that at all? Do we want to let that go? I don't know. I'm just bringing it up because it got brought up and it was brought up last meeting. I guess that was.
It's been brought up repeatedly in private.
I have a suggestion, if this were a staff person, you wouldn't fire them the first time, but you would have a conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, here's the feedback I'm getting.
Yeah.
I can have that conversation with them.
Yeah.
Can we have it with the firm? Like.
Yeah.
Instead of him?
Or would you say
Because we
that's-
employ the firm,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you want to do that? Do you,
How are they, or do they have, are they just partners? Do they have a managing partner?
what's that?
Do they have a managing partner?
Stage managing part, he's not the managing partner, is he?
I mean,
I mean, that's typically how.
Spitzel, Page and Fletcher. The only person with that last name that I've dealt with is Bob Fletcher.
Yeah.
So Adam and I call Bob Fletcher and set up a time to talk with him.
And he may or may not be the managing partner.
I think,
The way it works.
yeah, I mean, he might have others who
He's
are,
on the letterhead.
he's on the letterhead.
Yeah.
Named.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we want to craft a way to approach this ahead of time and not just wing it, right?
Sure.
It's kind of delicate.
Yeah, but do it verbally.
Yeah.
Maybe provide an update next meeting if that's appropriate.
All you're doing is conveying the sense of the voters.
Yeah.
And we all rely on the citizens for this great job we get to do. And so, that's the feedback we're getting. We wanted to pass it along to you.
Yeah.
We know you're gonna know how to behave.
Yeah.
Yeah, ultimately, we don't employ the firm, the town does.
Right.
And the citizens.
You don't pick lawyers for their personalities.
Like surgeons.
No, it's like surgeons.
Yeah.
I don't care if he's a jerk, if he's done 10,000 of them.
And then reach out the ball.
Yeah.
I'm gonna retract this and I have a suggestion. I think it's directly with the individual in question. Cause that's what.
That would be the first step.
Yes.
If it were to happen again, the next step would be with the firm.
But it's happened so many times.
Yeah, but we've never taken the first step.
It is true. I mean, Elise and I have this conversation all the time. It's like, well, someone can have bad behavior in a workplace, but until you start documenting it and notifying them, you're kind of stuck.
I mean, yes, but all of our meetings are documented. My only problem is that we keep saying that we employ the firm, but if we're talking to the person, then like that is our person, right? So like that is our person. But if we're saying back to folks when we get complaints about our person, that we employ the firm, like
Pick one or the other.
either you go to the firm because we employ the firm.
No, my point when I say that is we don't always deal with that one guy. With
Right.
different topics, it's literally a different guy.
He does a lot of the land use though.
Yeah.
So when we talk
He's the one who
about
deals with the-
stormwater, we talk about zoning, he's the one that we get.
When we do labor, it's a different guy.
Yeah.
And the thing about the land use attorneys is that's a very confrontational, combative corner of the legal world. I've been to so many Act 250 hearings and, you sort of have to have a thick skin when the public gets up to talk because they're usually reading the law as they sit in the back, but this is a little different. This is managing town affairs and that combative attitude just
doesn't fly.
Makes all our jobs harder.
Yeah.
So what's our conclusion? Individual, then firm?
Yeah.
Yeah. Start with a verbal warning.
Firm.
Well, I mean, it's just frame it as an open conversation about sharing feedback. That's
how you usually start. Hey, can I give you some feedback? You gotta open the door.
We employ them, so
I'm fine with that. I will say, like, if we do that, I would suggest that we maybe also notify the firm that we've done so, because if we were to take a next step and talk to the firm and then, take a next step, like they would have had no idea. We would be talking about choosing a different firm, not choosing a different him.
Yeah.
So like, it doesn't really impact him.
There needs to be some notification so that.
I imagine their first question would be, did you talk to him? If we go
and
to the
that's what
firm.
we can talk to him too. I just want to.
Sure, maybe a memo to Fletcher to say this is what we did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you definitely want to record you have a record of the conversation. I'm not saying record it, but
yeah. And then I guess the one thing that makes these I don't know, I've never had this conversation with an attorney, more with a carpenter. It's very different contractor. Would be like specific examples of how it's kind of gone off the rails because of the things we have a problem with. So I think that we're gonna have to, not all of the examples, we don't want to beat a horse, but 2 or 3 examples of how that has made the outcome worse for the town. If anyone has specific examples and you want to send them, Josh. Chelsea had a question. She asked if she should address a letter regarding the town attorney to the select board as a whole.
Wouldn't hurt.
Sure. Seems appropriate.
Yeah.
It's your choice, yeah.
You could address it to
Oh, I see, yeah.
one or all of us, or some selection, or Josh, depending on whatever your comfort level is. All of those are appropriate.
Here.
Aaron?
This is just a little total aside thing, but when the person earlier today asked about what discussions you had had about the attorney and what conclusions you had come to, the assumption is that you guys were meeting outside of the select board to have some sort of discussions about stuff. And I just thought it just seemed like an opportunity to educate that this meeting is where you have your discussions. It doesn't happen outside. So anyway, just that's
Yeah, I
it.
mean,
My
I
2
guess
cents.
we could have an executive session to discuss it, I guess, because technically we were in a contract with that firm. But that would be warned and you would know we were going into it. We have not done that.
Yeah. Anyway, I just it's very
Good point.
yeah.
And then we all avoid discussing anything with other members when it's more than one-on-one, because that would be having a meeting with a quorum outside of the select board. So we don't do that. Or I don't do that, and I assume everyone else doesn't, because we've all done the ethics training, right? Yep.
I don't do that even if I have. I've done the ethics trainings, just not, there was one for the.
I have my license, I just don't have it on me. Car's inspected, someone stole the sticker. It's happened too. So our last item is a review of the stormwater system maintenance agreement with Greystone Estates Residents Association for the 3-acre stormwater permit.
I am going to recuse myself from this because I am a member of the Southview, and we've been overlapping in conversation with the Greystone conversation, and I just don't feel comfortable from an ethics standpoint to participate in it.
You want to sign those?
Thank you, Caitlin.
Yeah.
Except for the PO.
Drive safe on the way home.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, it's messy coming in.
So we would need two motions.
Adam, this is David. I move to find that premature public knowledge about the stormwater system maintenance agreement with Greystone Estates Residents Association for 3-acre stormwater permit would cause the town or person to suffer a substantial disadvantage.
Ms. Bard, I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Greg, I.
Bard, aye.
David, I.
Caitlin, abstain.
Adam, aye.
Mr. Chairman, this is David. I move that we enter into executive session to discuss the stormwater system maintenance agreement with Greystone Estates Residents Association for 3-acre stormwater permit under the provisions of 1 VSA 313A1A of Vermont statutes, and to invite town manager Josh Arneson into the executive session.
Bard, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Bard, aye.
Greg, I.
David, aye.
Caitlin, abstain.
Adam, aye. We are going to enter an executive session. We won't have any business when we come back other than to close the meeting. So if you would like to sign off, you're welcome to. You're also welcome to wait for us to close the meeting. Just don't want anyone to hang out just for us to come back and close the meeting on you. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, it's interesting. Thank you, but you should also move to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a second?
Bard, aye. Bard, yes, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.